You're listening to BL in the Air, a podcast where we talk about Thai BL dramas. Today we are going to be talking about the show Pit Babe. It's a show that came out earlier this year, actually I think late last year, and we wanted to spend the whole show dedicated to just discussing it and dissecting some of the plot. So, before we get into it, to introduce myself, I'm one of your hosts. My name is Chy.
And I'm your other host, Alex. And Chy, what's in the air with you?
So, for what I'm like watching and stuff right now, I have just finished watching The Glory. I think I mentioned this last episode, but it's not a BL drama, it's a Korean drama, and it's more of kind of like a thriller. Um, it's mostly, I guess I just call it like a thriller drama type thing. It was really, really good. I liked it a lot. It's very revenge heavy, which I love. It's a lot darker. It's a lot more violent. It's kind of about a girl who gets revenge on her bullies in high school, and so I literally just finished that last night. So I have not been watching any like BL dramas of the sort, but now that that's over, I think I'm gonna start Dead Friends Forever next.
Oh, that's exciting. You'll have to let
Yeah.
me know how it is, because I think I made it 2 episodes of the Dead Friends Forever and decided it was too scary for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll let you know what I think and if it gets more or less scary. Cause yeah, I'm really into like horror stuff and thrillers and all that sort. So, yeah, I've been meaning to get on that one. And then I have been reading though the novel for My Stand-In. I think the novel has a different name, but it's basically the novel that the show was based off of. And yeah, I'm liking it so far. I'm not like I don't think I'm quite like halfway through it yet. So as of right now, it's pretty similar to like what happens in the show, but I know you've mentioned that that changes as you get kind of farther into it.
Yeah, I think the biggest change is like the big accident, right? Like in the beginning.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's the biggest like difference in the first part, but the ending is like I think it resolves the same in the end, but how they get to it is totally different.
Yeah, yeah. 'Cause, yeah, I remember we were watching the show and you were just like so confused the last couple episodes of like what how did they get here and like where are they gonna go from here and like yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I was very confused. That being said, I like both, for what they are.
Mhm.
So you said you like it so far, right?
Yeah, I am
Yeah.
liking it. The so I'm reading like a free translation online and like
Mhm.
I thank them so much for translating it and like making it available for me to read, but it is like it's not like a professional translation, you know? So some of it's like a little dry, but yeah, but other than that, I like the story itself. I mean, I love the story of My Stand and it's like just so it's like woven together so well. I think it's the plot itself is just really well done.
I agree. I love it so much. I really wanna rewatch it. There's so much on my
I
to-watch
know.
list, but I really wanna rewatch it.
I know. I remember when like cuz you started it and like you watched like the 8 episodes cuz that was what was out at the time and then like I started watching it and you were like, "Oh, I'll rewatch it with you." And I'm like, "The show hasn't even finished yet. You're going to like rewatch it."
It's so good though. Like
It
Up
is.
and Poom did such an incredible job with this. Like the casting for this is honestly just a miracle, like fate meant to be type of a thing.
I
Is
know.
both of them having to audition and then Poom being like late to the audition and being the last one to audition and Up going fine, I'll stay late, no big deal to whatever because he was gonna leave to beat traffic and it just they couldn't have cast this any better.
I know. It's yeah, it's perfect. And I honestly would probably rewatch it as well, but I'm going to get through the novel first.
Yeah.
Um Oh, and then my friend is watching The Untamed, so I'm actually watching it like with her. Because I've seen it before and it's like a little confusing at first because there's just like a ton of characters and whatever. So I'm just like watching it with her and like explaining who people are when they come up and she is confused and oh, it's that's like I mean, one of my all-time favorite shows, so yeah, I'm enjoying that as well.
I need to finish that one. I made it 8 episodes in and then got distracted by, like, every other show that came out.
Yeah. What's in the air with you?
So, Friday, I started Manner of Death because on Thursday, I saw a gif of Max and Joel kissing that was like, "Okay, this is what I need." Um,
Yeah.
which is really funny because, like, Manner of Death is a BL, but, like, I'd say the romance is a pretty minor part of the show.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but I am 9, 10 episodes in. Um, where am I? I'm 9 episodes in, and there's 14 episodes, so it's a little bit longer. And it's so good. I will say it is very suspenseful in certain parts. I have jumped quite a few times,
I love it.
and it's my first, like, Max and Tool show, so I was like, I don't really know much about either of them. Um,
Mhm.
but it's so good. I've left myself on a cliffhanger yesterday, and I haven't had time to watch anything today, and I'm just like, "Oh." Like, I saw the teaser for what happens next, and I'm like, "There's a lot that happens next that's about to upset me." Um,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
I think you'd
I'm like
really like it.
I know, I've been meaning to watch it for so, so long, but yeah, hearing your like, that you're enjoying it makes me wanna watch it a lot more, and I'm all about the suspense right now, so
Yeah, I think without that gif of them kissing, I don't know that I would have jumped on it quite so quickly because it isn't my, like, norm of what I like to watch. Because I do like the more heavier romance. Like, not even, like, the NC scenes, like, just more, like, romance focused.
Mhm.
Um, but it's nice to step out of my norm, and watch something different.
Right, yeah.
Um, outside of that, 4 minutes, episode 2.
Oh.
So,
How was that?
honestly, I have no idea what's happening in the plot. I'm gonna be so real. I have no idea. I'm so confused. I had to go
Uh-huh.
back like 10 minutes. Like, a scene happened, and like 10 minutes later, I'm like, okay, I don't understand that scene at all now because of what's happened after that. So I have to go back and be like, did I miss something? Um, and no, I didn't miss anything. Just nothing makes sense. But
Is it, like, on purpose, or
yes.
does it feel okay? 'Cause, like,
So
it's one thing where it's, like, piecing together a show, like, as they're feeding you information, but it's another like, there's a couple shows I've watched where I'm just I think they, like, forgot to add something in it, you know?
so interestingly, which I didn't realize this until I just looked at this now, but the writer of the show, her name is Saman. Or I guess Sam, Simone, Sam, one of it's both on my drama list here. And she's the writer and she said that like not everything's gonna make sense in the beginning, but as you like start to piece things together, it'll start to make sense type of a deal.
Okay.
But interestingly, she also wrote Manner of Death and Triage.
Oh god, okay.
So before we started recording, we also talked about Triage, everyone.
Mhm.
So but that's funny. She's written or done a few others. So she's the original creator of Triage and Manner of Death.
Oh,
And then the
wow.
screenwriter for 4 Minutes and Dead Friends Forever.
Oh, goddamn, okay.
Oh, okay.
Just, like,
Um,
every show we've mentioned in the last, 7 minutes.
yeah, no big deal.
Yeah.
So like I really like 4 Minutes so far. It's been really funny.
Funny, okay.
Uh, Bible in this is so different from like his Vegas character in Kin Porsche. Um, I love him. He's kind of just a cinnamon roll. Um,
That's a very funny thing to say if you're just, like, picturing Vegas.
Right, it's so odd, but I he's doing such a good job of it, like, I don't think of Vegas when I see him, you know? I don't remember what Bible's character's name is in this, but I just he's I he needs some help, is all I'm gonna say, and
Yeah.
he's just kinda chill and just vibing, I guess, and then Jess is a doctor in the show, and
Okay,
he just
the girl who's the screenwriter, is she, like, a doctor in real life or something, or
I have no idea.
okay, let's see, there's so
Let
many
me
doctor shows she's made.
Oh, she is. Sam, known by her pen name Simone, is a family doctor, novelist, and screenwriter from Chiang Mai. And she also worked as a consultant on medical dramas such as Once a Doctor, Always a Doctor. So
So
yeah,
cool. The hell?
that makes a lot of sense. Um,
Yeah. Okay, wow, she's my
mm,
new role model.
right? Like It's Jimmy all over again being
Yeah.
a doctor and
Yeah.
a BL actor at the same time. I don't know how his schedule works.
God,
Um,
I don't think there's any free time. Oh my god, if Jimmy was my dermatologist and I was trying to schedule an appointment and I couldn't get an appointment because he was promoting his, like, gay drama in Italy, I'd be like be like, "Oh man."
Time for Pit Babe.
Yeah.
All right. Um, so Pit Babe came out end of last year. It might have finished at the beginning of this year, but most of
Mhm.
it was last year. Um, it's 13 episodes, which is kind of an odd number of episodes. Uh,
Yeah.
and it is based off of a novel. I've read about not quite half of the novel so far. Um, and you haven't read it yet, right?
No, I have
Okay.
not.
Which is fine. The novel, honestly, I couldn't tell you where in the show I am with the novel. Um,
Mhm.
because they're very different.
I almost wanna read the novel because and this will be a reoccurring theme, but I just, like, do not understand the plot of Pit Babe, and so I'm like, maybe if I read the novel, I will begin to understand.
But there's no plot in the novel.
Oh, that's so see,
Okay.
the thing about Pit Babe, I can't tell if I love the show or if I hate the show or if, like, I Pit Babe bravely asks, "What if we made a show where so much happens that nothing happens?" And I kinda love it, you know? It
Yeah.
we'll go all into it, but yeah, I'm very, like, perplexed by this drama.
I will say that I love the show. Um,
Yeah.
I also kind of love the novel.
Okay. You guys you
Um,
yeah, you've I know you sent me a couple passages and they seem pretty funny.
it's so funny. So I will say that the show loses Pit Babe's personality significantly. Like he has a very
Mhm.
different personality in the show.
Sure.
And which it's one of those it's to the point where I'm kind of like these are completely separate entities. Like so you've read it enough of my stand-in now where it's like it's basically the same, right? Like the plot's overall the same. There's I'd say Joe has a little bit of a different personality. Um
Yeah, but for the
because
most part, I just picture, like, Up as Ming in the novel too.
yeah. So I think Up as Ming makes a lot of sense. Joe is different cuz like there's an age thing that they ignored. Um
Mhm.
but like it's not like the end of the world. It doesn't like take me out of the novel too much. It just novel like Joe constantly going, "I'm old," was like, Okay, dude." And
Yeah.
I'm glad that wasn't in the show. Um, whereas, like, I can't picture Pit Babe as anyone other than Pavel.
Mhm.
Um, but like, it's totally different characters in the book.
Yeah.
Um, which the novel I'm reading is a fan translation as well. Um, so there's been some weird translation things that I'm like, I think something got missed somewhere.
Mhm.
But I still appreciate the the translation because it's better than nothing.
Oh my god,
Um,
yeah, fan fiction writers and translators are literally the backbone of society. Like, I cannot thank them enough for their contributions to, like, society in as a whole.
have you ever written fan fiction?
Oh my god. No, I wrote, like, a crack fic once. Like, I made one that was the goal of the fic was to make it as cliché as possible, so I just included, like it was just, like, really stupid and insane, I just included a bunch of, like, cliches and stuff, so I've never, like I've always thought about, like, writing one, but I feel like I was never confident enough in my writing skills to actually, like, try, you know? So
Mhm.
that's the only one I've ever made. How about you, though?
I was a fanfiction.net girly in the 2000s.
Oh my
I
god.
I absolutely wrote Harry Potter fanfiction.
I love
Um,
it. Have you, like, reread it any of it?
oh, it's so bad. But so I have deleted it off of fanfiction.net, so if
Oh,
anyone is trying to
no.
go look for it, you can't find it. Um,
Damn.
I was like, "This part of my life needs to be gone." Um, Like, I have it hidden. My favorite though was I did this like this like weird short story where they were gonna have a choir, like a Christmas choir at Hogwarts, and like everyone was forced into it, and so it was like them singing like parody Christmas songs, and then it was like a like ended up being like a talent show type of thing at one point. So I like rewrote Skater Boy by Avril Lavigne to be like a Hermione and Ron like thing. Um
I love that.
and I know at one point I rewrote Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer from like Draco's point of view of making fun of somebody. I don't remember who it was. Um there was a lot of fan fiction that I wrote.
I'm impressed. Those are quite the ideas.
Haven't really gotten into the BL fan fiction. I think
So
that's because there's so much to consume of actual content.
that's yeah, I have been reading a good amount of like fan fiction for The Untamed, which is like it's and I like stopped reading fan fiction for like a couple years, and then after I watched The Untamed, I started reading fan fiction for that, and that's been like the only like BL fan fiction that I've read, but I'm sure they're like Pit Babe and
There has to be.
like yes, especially Pit Babe. I don't know why, but I feel
Yes.
like there's probably because it's Omegaverse.
Yeah, no, there's absolutely. Um,
Yeah. Should okay, let me give the summary for Pit
yeah.
Babe. We haven't even done that yet. But basically, the show is about like some people who've created this overly complicated scheme to stop a child trafficking ring. And also there's race cars, superpowers, and Omegaverse. So if you see what I mean by when I say I'm perplexed by this show, that is like literally the summary.
Yeah, it's I got really excited when this got announced because it was Omegaverse, even though I've never like even touched Omegaverse anything. Um,
Mhm.
and honestly, that's with reading the novel, that's having to learn some of the terminology has been killing me because I'm like, I don't know what you're saying right now.
Oh my god, yeah. I That's something too. Yeah, watching the show, I was like, is this just like something I don't know or like are they inventing a new word or
Yeah,
yeah.
because
I'm like
so
not usually an Omegaverse consumer, but
no.
I was just like, hey, I think this is like the first like published produced Omegaverse like show ever probably. So I'm like, hey, this is so cool.
Yeah, that's why I was into it as well. It was like, okay, uh I want to see what that is. I wasn't expecting any kind of mention of Mpreg. Um
That's the whole point of Omegaverse
I know,
though.
but still it freaked me out a little bit.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. No, I for the fact that it is Omegaverse, I honestly I love this show so much.
Yeah, I
Um
will say, like, I kind of feel like there was almost no need for it to be Omegaverse.
it
Like,
yeah.
it's just
Well,
like it's so background, but
I agree, except the fact that Mpreg is a key plot point.
yeah, that is true. But even then, okay, we'll get to this when we get to it, but I feel like there's no even need for Mpreg because like you could probably just had regular preg, but R preg, if you will. I don't know.
But with that, like, there's no women in the show.
That's
Um,
true. That's my other question about this show. I've never seen a show pass the Bechdel test less than this one. I don't even think I've seen a single woman in this whole show. I don't even know if they exist in the Pit Babe universe.
so they do in the novel.
Oh, okay, wow.
In the novel, but the only thing they're there for is to be like the flag girls at the race.
Oh god, that's even worse. At that point, just keep them out, you know?
Yeah, because it's like that's the only time I ever see like mention of like a woman in the show is it's a girl who's like waving the like start flag. Um,
Oh my god.
and I'm like, okay. And then like at one point there was a race where there wasn't a woman around. They're like, oh, so like North or Sonic or somebody had to go do it. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I guess yeah, that plot would make sense why you need Mpreg if there's no women at all. So
Yeah,
But
so I mean, I get yeah, you could have rewritten the whole thing and still been a BL, I guess, and not made it Omegaverse. I think just for anyone who actually understands Omegaverse, I think it's just easier that way with
yeah,
the whole alpha and omega part of it. Because like that
yeah. The only thing though is there's also only alphas in this show.
which is super confusing to me because again, reading the novel, one of the characters in it is an omega all of a sudden. And I was like, "Oh, that never got mentioned."
Yeah,
Um,
in the show, I feel like they never mention, like, either way if he's an alpha or an omega, but if everyone's an alpha, then is anyone actually an alpha, you know?
so I mean, I guess part of it is you have like regular alphas and then you have like special alphas
Yeah, you have the
because I
fancy
guess that
alphas.
not everybody's gonna have like a superpower, I guess, or like I guess it's tiered because like Pit Babe is a special alpha, right?
Mhm.
Because he with his like special fancy powers, because that's where the superpowers come in. Is these alphas have powers and they all have different powers, which is such a weird concept.
Yeah, I don't know if is that, like, a normal Omegaverse thing? Like, is it, like, in the Omegaverse world where there are, like, special alphas with special superpowers? Or
I
was that
have
just, like, kind of invented for the show?
I have no idea. I don't know
Damn.
anything about Omegaverse.
We should have gotten an Omegaverse expert to come guest in here. We need, like, a professional opinion.
I
Comment
will.
if you know about the Omegaverse and you can answer these questions.
I want to say the superpower thing is a Pit Babe thing more than like I feel like it probably pops up in more of like it would make sense to, but I don't know that it would be
Mhm.
like a core like requirement.
Yeah, because in this show, being your superpower is tied to you specifically being like a special alpha. So we have like our main character, his name's Pit Babe. He's usually just called Babe. And he has like he's a special alpha, so he basically has like heightened senses, so he can like smell very much strongly, he can hear from much greater distances, he has much quicker reflexes. So that's kind of like his thing. And he's played by Pavel, who we kind of mentioned before.
I adore Pavel so much.
I do too. I love him, especially like on social media when the show was airing. He would just post like the most unhinged like fan things about it, and he was just up in everyone's like comments who like posted about the show. It was so funny.
Yeah, and he's such a fanboy too of like K-pop and
Mhm.
stuff. And then you never know when like if you talk about him on like social media, especially on like TikTok, like the amount of times that I like open up the comment section to like a TikTok about Pavel just to see him in the comments of it, I'm like, "Oh, okay, hey guy."
Yeah, like commonplace for him to be.
Yep.
And then
Um
we have our next lead. His the character's name is Charlie. He's played by the actor Pooh, and Charlie is like also a special alpha, but when the show starts, you're not quite sure like if he is or if he isn't or what his power is. So
yeah, and then we have Wei, who is acted by Supa Nut, my favorite. This is
love
where I fell in love with Supa Nut.
me too. He's like one of my favorite actors now. He's so beautiful. Like the whole time I'm watching the show, I'm just like, oh my god, like look at him.
Right? I need his shows to come out, his next ones.
Me
Um,
too.
which I know the one with like the harem of men, it's not gonna come out till next year.
I'm
Oh,
so looking forward to that one. The I'm the most beautiful count, it's called.
yes. With
Um,
him in those heels, like hello.
yes, he's great. I love him like as an actor too. He's really like funny and
hmm
yeah, he's great.
And then we have Alan,
Mhm.
who is acted by Siloops. Oh, God. Siloops. Uh,
Yeah, something like that.
and then Jeff, who is acted by Pawn. So
Mhm.
Alan is like the head of the team, I guess the racing team, and I think he owns the garage that they're in. I'm not
I
entirely
think
sure.
I think he does. I think he's called it like his garage before, so I would like assume so.
Yeah. And then Jeff is a character that in the beginning we don't know a whole lot about. He kind of joins the team as like another mechanic. Um, but Silub and Pawn are in another show right now. Um, something long beans. This
Yeah,
recipe has no
this
long beans.
love doesn't have long beans or
Yeah.
something.
So I'm really excited to watch that. I'm waiting for it to finish airing before I watch it. I'm holding
Yeah,
out on that one, but I'm really excited because I actually really like them. Um,
I do too.
so there's definitely a lot more characters than this, but I think that's kind of the core of like reoccurring characters besides Tony, I guess. Um,
Yeah.
and so Tony is played by his name is S,
Okay.
like the letter S. That's his nickname. Um,
Okay.
so there's a few more reoccurring characters that might come in, but those I think are some of the key ones. But yeah, I will say this plot gets a little confusing. Um,
Yes, we will very quickly introduce like 8 more characters and like the plot is it takes twists and turns you never see coming.
yeah, that's one of the things that cracks me up with the novel. So like with the show, like you get introduced to a lot of like the characters all at like once. And then in the novel, I think it was like chapter 9 before I met more than Babe, Charlie and Wei.
They're easing you into it.
Yeah, and then you kind of meet like the whole like team at once, and then it's kind of like they're just there on the side, not really relevant.
Yeah, that's kind of how they are in the show too, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I
So
guess to start with the plot. Um so the first scene of the show, it opens the first scene immediately sex. That's we open with Pit Babe, who he's a race car driver for the group X Hunter, and because he's a special alpha, before his races, I guess he has to have sex with someone to like help. He always calls it like to help him to concentrate, and so he needs to do that, otherwise he'll be, like, too overwhelmed by all the, like, sounds and smells in the race. So this is his, like, ritual in the locker room. He's always just, like, hooking up with someone right before a big race. So that's the opening scene. It comes off quite strong.
so my guess with that is with him finishing. Um
Yeah.
I assume that numbs his senses a little bit because
Mhm.
what like his senses, his like alpha power senses are so overwhelming um that it makes it hard for him to focus on anything. He actually struggles a lot with that.
Mhm.
Like especially like I think smells are a big problem. Um
Yeah.
so but yeah, that was one way to start a show. I remember like starting this and going what am I watching?
Like, yeah, right off the bat, it's, like, him and just some, like, random guy in the locker room, and I'm like, "Okay."
Yep.
And Babe is specifically alpha for alpha, so he's an alpha, but he only messes around and dates other alphas, which luckily for him is pretty much everyone else in the Pip Babe universe, to my knowledge.
Yeah, and so um I think part of that is with an omega is how you get pregnant.
Yeah.
So there's that way of avoiding things.
Yeah, that's
Um,
true. I don't know, cause yeah, he always complains about, cause like, alphas have a certain, like, pheromone that he's
yes.
very sensitive to, and so he always complains when, like, alphas are too stinky.
Mhm.
But so I don't know, like, why he doesn't okay, from my Omegaverse knowledge, betas are the ones who, like, are quote unquote, like, normal, like, they don't have pheromones, they don't, like, get pregnant, whatever, so I don't know why he doesn't just, like, date a beta, but, whatever. They don't exist, so that's probably why.
Yeah, I mean, even in the novel, betas aren't mentioned. It's you hear
It's so
alpha and omega, Um,
That's so
and
interesting because I feel like in other like Omegaverse texts, like betas are like the most common. Like they're just like the standard.
yeah, that's just all the characters we don't care about.
I guess so, yeah. Those are all the flag girls, I guess.
So, the novel starts very similar to this, where it's actually Wei and somebody from like the team like standing around, and the it's like the person from the team is like the new kid, and he's like freaking out because like the race is about to start and Babe's not there, and Wei's like it's fine. He'll be here on time. And the other kid's like, "Where is he?" And he's like, "Oh, he's in the locker room
Don't go in the
doing
locker
his
room.
like ritual." And he's like, "I," and Wei's like, "I wouldn't recommend going in there right now."
Yeah.
And then it like cuts over to that, and it's actually really funny because whoever he's hooking up with in the locker room starts to smell so bad that Babe's like, I can't even finish this, and like walks
Mhm.
off.
Yeah, yeah. That's kinda how it is in the show too, although I think they
He's like,
might finish what they're doing, but he does complain about how, like, stinky the other guy is.
that's it's so funny.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a thing that never comes up in like the second half of the show.
Um, yeah, I don't think it does, although it might be due to the fact that,
Yeah,
later on in the show, Babe's abilities will lessen, so
yeah.
maybe it's because of that, I don't know.
Oh.
But, Babe, he's, like, the best racer on the team, so he races and he wins like he always does, and after the race, he is back in the locker room and he runs into Charlie, who is our second lead, and Charlie's sneaking around, and Babe's like, "Why are you stalking me?" And Charlie's like, "Well, I came to, like, watch the race and to meet you." And Babe's like, "Okay, so you are stalking me." And he's like, "Well, no, I have a reason. I want to borrow your car."
Such a normal request.
Yeah, what a reasonable thing to ask someone you've literally just met and followed into the locker room. Um, and his reasoning is that he wants to race, like, he's a big fan of the X Hunters and he wants to race, but he doesn't have enough money to buy his own car. And I don't know, Babe at first kinda, like, ignores him or, like, brushes him off, and then but at some point, he, like, gets kinda flirty, and he's, like, kinda touching Charlie, and he's like, "Well, if you sleep with me right now and become my, like, friends with benefits, then at some point, like, I'll let you borrow my car."
That's such a
And
weird request.
it's so yeah, it's so weird, I don't know, but it's honestly it's so awkward to watch too, like, this is one of the first scenes of the show, and it's, like, a hard watch because like, eventually, like, Charlie, like, he's got this, like, dopey look on his face that he has throughout the whole show, and he's, like, confused at first, like, he doesn't understand what Babe is saying, and then he understands, and he agrees to it, but then they're, like, kissing each other, but, like, not each other's, like, mouths, like, I don't know, I'm like, "Okay, this is weird," but
Right? Babe is anti being kissed on the lips. It's
yeah.
it's like his hard rule for some reason. Um
Yeah, so they're just, like, I don't know, some of it's, like, on the cheek and stuff, and I'm like, "Okay, I don't this feels weird for me," but
Yeah. I think this is one of the biggest things for me with the novel is the casting difference here.
mhm,
So Pooh and Pavel are like relatively the same height. I think Pavel has like maybe like an inch on Charlie or on
mhm.
Pooh. In the novel, Pip Babe is like 5'10" ish, and and Charlie is like 6'3", like a giant.
Yeah,
And Charlie, even though or Pooh, even though he's like close to the same height as Pavel, he gives off small energy, like
mhm,
short person, so he feels so much smaller and shorter. And I think that kind of makes the vibe between them two a little different. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, that's Babe just being like, yeah, if you sleep with me, then you can borrow a car, sure.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I
That's
guess fair trade, like, maybe? I don't know.
yeah, that's kind of how it goes in the novel a little bit. Um, I would say
Yeah.
it's like there's like a trial run basically, and then it's like maybe I'll let you be like a reoccurring. Like they go back to like Pavel's house. He's like, "Come meet me at 4 in the morning," or not Pavel, Pit Babe.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, like, the idea maybe is, like, if it goes well, then Charlie will be the one to, like, help him before races or something, like, that's at least what it ends up becoming, but,
Yeah.
yeah, for now, I don't know, he's just kinda like, "Sleep with me right now," and they're still in the goddamn locker room.
I think everybody just knows to not go into the locker room.
I know literally, like, no one else must use it, I'd be, like, terrified to walk in there at any given moment.
Right? It's like, is Pit Babe outside or in the locker room? That's gonna
Yeah.
dictate where I'm at. Um,
Yeah, right? Man, can you imagine if he's in there and, like, it's after a race, you have to just, like, go change and, like, go home, but you know Babe is in the locker room, you're like, "God damn it, I have to wait till he's
there's
out."
there's a Babe watch where everybody's in, like, a group text together besides him, see who sees him leave.
Yeah. There must be, honestly. And I guess they have a good time together. So, they go to this one bar that's, like the bar is like a diner, but it's a bar. So I'll call it diner bar. But it's like a 50s, like, diner looking thing,
It does
and
look really
they
cool. I like the
it
vibe.
does yeah, it looks super cool. I wonder if it's, like, an actual, like, bar or something? I don't know. I kinda wanna go.
When we take the podcast to Thailand, we'll go look for it.
I'm so down. Yeah, but they spend a lot of time there, so we'll have to go recreate the scenes.
I'll just be way drunk in a bench.
Yeah.
Way spends a lot of time just drunk there. Um,
Yeah, be in the right spirit. And so yeah, the whole like team is waiting there and then like waiting for Babe to come to celebrate their win. And then Babe brings Charlie along. And then Charlie's just like standing behind Babe, just like grinning like a dork. Like and Babe's friends are and so it's Way, Sonic, North, and Alan. So Way is another racer. Sonic and North, I think, are like mechanics. And Alan's the garage owner or the team leader and or, you know.
yep.
And they're making bets on how long Charlie will last, like literally like right in front of him. And the consensus is like 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, Babe doesn't commit to anything or anyone.
Yeah. So they're like, yeah, we've seen these guys before. Like they don't last too long.
I
But
mean,
Charlie's
I
just
can't.
standing in the corner smiling, so it's like whatever.
There's a lot of no thoughts head empty that happens with Charlie. It feels like,
Mhm. That is most of his character.
it it is, which is unfortunate because like it's kind of that in the novel, but at the same time, some of that I think is more of an act because like he'll do things that it's like, hmm. But also in the novel, Babe like doesn't introduce Charlie to anyone. Like Babe keeps Charlie hidden for a long time. And like
Mm.
when he does take him like to the racetrack or whatever, he's like in a hat and like a face mask so no one can see
Oh.
who he is.
Yeah, that's
And
interesting because this is like literally like 30 minutes after they first meet, probably.
yeah, it's a while before like Charlie is like at a race or anything like that and it's like it's a lot of it is just them like hanging out at like Babe's like a house.
Yeah.
Um and like a lot of that is actually like for their safety because like Babe's like I have a lot of people who don't like me and also I'm a celebrity, so like for your own privacy, like this is why we're doing this.
Yeah.
Which is totally valid and a little surprising because outside of that like novel Pit Babe is kind of an asshole.
Yeah,
Like
definitely.
more so than in the show.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I mean that's like the clips I've sent you where all he does is just insult Charlie the entire time.
There's like one quote where he was calling Charlie like a dumb melon or something. I was like, what?
And even Charlie was like, "What?"
Why did he call me that?
Which the answer, by the way, is because Charlie was wearing a watermelon headband.
Oh.
So there was actually a reason behind that one. I was really surprised
I see. Okay.
because the rotten pumpkin, there was no explanation for that one. That was just, you're a rotten pumpkin. I was like, okay. And then he's constantly like this idiot with his dumb face, and I'm like, do you actually like Charlie?
Even watching this show, I half the time I'm like, do you even like this guy?
Yeah.
But yeah, um he must, and mentions like he mentions this to Charlie a little bit later, but he mentions like at some point that Charlie doesn't have like alpha pheromones, so he's like, "Oh, I like being with you because like you're not smelly," like unlike all the other guys. So I think it's just like much more convenient for Babe at first because he doesn't have to deal with that.
That would be such a red flag for me if I was Pit Babe. Of
Yeah,
like the alpha doesn't have alpha smells because Charlie has said he's an alpha at this point, right? Yeah.
yeah. He's.
Because
I think that's. Babe asked him before they like sleep
yeah.
together.
So like that would be such a red flag to me. It'd be like, oh, you say you're an alpha, but you don't smell like an alpha. What?
Yeah, right.
Because I don't think Charlie has like a good reason for that either. He's just like, no.
Yeah, I think Babe's just like, oh yeah, we're like compatible because of it. He doesn't ask why.
Yeah. No, I'd be like, what are you actually?
Yeah. And after so they're like drinking and stuff, and like while they're doing that, the guy he beat in the race earlier that day, his name's Winner, by the way. And I was so confused at first because they were like, oh, Winner, and I was like, wasn't Babe the winner?
What
I
a
was like,
name.
oh yeah, it's his name, I guess. But yeah, he comes up and basically is like, oh, Babe has an unfair advantage because of his senses. So they make a bet and they're like, they're gonna race again, just right outside of the bar. And if Winner wins, he gets to take Charlie. I don't know why Charlie's such like a hot commodity. Um, and Babe's
I
like, yeah, sure, we can do that.
and I think Charlie is the commodity here because Winner just wants what Babe has. Um, I don't think
Yeah,
Winner actually cares about Charlie.
no, but I don't even think like Babe cares about Charlie at this point. So it's not like
Yeah.
Winner's really winning anything. He should have because I think at first like Babe offers him like money and Winner's like, no, I want Charlie. And I'm like, oh, I would have taken the money, but
I think there's like a maybe a pride thing with that of I got to have Babe's boy, whatever. Um
yeah. That's the thing. Yeah, they're always like, oh, it's Babe's boy, whatever.
yeah.
Like, okay.
But also if I was Charlie, I'd be like, "Hello?"
I know. Yeah,
Like, what?
Charlie just sits there, doesn't say anything, but yeah, I'd be like, I'm a person. And so immediately they leave the bar to the parking lot, and like half the bar comes with them to watch this contest. First of all, they were just drinking, like doing shots in the bar. This is drunk driving. It's not even like drunk driving, it's drunk they're like drifting, drunk drifting. That's even
That's so dangerous.
yeah.
So, maybe alphas can hold their liquor better, I don't know.
Oh, I see. It's an Omegaverse thing again.
It is now.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah, so they do that, of course, Babe wins, and he, like, drops Charlie off and goes home, and then we see, like, someone is watching Babe and has been, like, taking pictures of him throughout the day. And I think that's how the first episode ends.
Yeah, it's a very interesting introduction to a show.
Yeah, there's, like the first episode alone has, like, 3 sex scenes, it's, like and the rest of the show, I feel like, isn't even that, like, raunchy, but they really start out that way.
That's how the novel is too. It's a sex scene, and then every other like minute is like Babe and Charlie having sex after that, like constantly.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, like is there actual plot, or am I just reading about them constantly having sex? Is how it feels.
Yeah, half the sex scenes I just, like, omitted from this summary because I was like, "This adds nothing to the plot," and I don't really wanna write down, like, "Oh, I have sex on the couch or in the car or in the freaking woods," or I don't know, wherever. In public, usually.
A little voyeurism,
Yeah, right.
or is it? No, it's. exhibitionism,
I
right?
would
Because
yeah, yeah.
Voyeur is
I
what you
think you're
watch.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
Shows how much I know.
Yeah, important. So yeah, then the next episode starts and it's like the next day at the garage. Um and like Babe comes to the garage with Charlie and all the guys there they're pretty surprised cuz Babe's never actually like brought a guy to the garage before. Um so yeah, they see like Charlie at the garage and they start to wonder they're like, "Oh, maybe we all lost the bet." Like maybe he'll be sticking around for a while. And then so there while that's happening off, on the side, Alan, who's the garage owner, and Wei, who's another racer, and Pit Babe's best friend, they're talking, and we find out that Wei has had feelings for Babe for like a really long time, but he's never, at least in the show, he's never made a move on it. He's kind of just talked about like how it just I don't know, it's like not gonna happen or it hasn't happened, whatever. And Way's kind of like or Alan's kind of pushing him to like maybe tell Babe about how he feels, but Way's just like, no, like I'm just gonna let it like play out.
This is so frustrating
Yeah.
because like Way and Babe have been friends for years.
Yeah.
Like if it was gonna happen naturally without Way saying anything, it would have already happened. It's
Yeah.
like just go talk to him or resolve your feelings. One of the two.
I know. You don't want to just like sit there all unrequited and doing nothing about it for like years and years and years. But yeah, he's especially feeling a bit threatened now that like Charlie has been there for, he's actually stuck around longer than 2 or 3 days.
Yeah. And like he's been brought to the garage, which means things are different. Like, come on. Come on, Way. What are you
Yeah,
doing?
that's kind of what Alan's saying. He's like, now or never.
Yep.
In ways like never.
Mm, Dumbo.
I know.
I think Way and Babe would have made a really good couple.
Oh, I know. I want to see it so bad. If we need like this is what I need to read fan fiction of. Just Way and Babe. My
I
ghost
have
ship.
no doubt it exists. Um,
Yeah, that's probably true. I'll be looking it up after. And then so Babe and Charlie go to Babe's house and they're like hooking up. And Babe gives him the door passcode and he's like, "Hey, come over and like tomorrow and like help me concentrate." Well, wink wink, concentrate before practice. So, that's a little step in their relationship and Charlie's like jazzed about this and the next day he comes over and he's like literally running around the house in like boxers and an apron and like making him sandwiches and stuff and it's like is he being like the sexy maid or like what is he doing?
He's immediately domestic.
He is. He's like default like domestic mode.
I guess whatever it takes to keep Pit Babe happy.
Yeah,
As soon as Pit Babe's bored, everything's over.
yeah, it's true. Um and then what Charlie does for work, he is like a freelance video editor. So sometimes he's like usually just at their house like editing videos, but sometimes he has to go meet clients and stuff. And I think Babe at one point Charlie is like, "Oh yeah, I like a video editor." And then Babe's just like, "Oh, so that's why you're in poverty." Like, "Oh, that's rude."
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Charlie does not care. You can say anything to Charlie, he's not gonna give a shit.
Nope.
He's just gonna smile. And oh, this is great. So after he like talks to Charlie about his job, Babe just hops on a motorcycle that's in his living room and just drives it like out of the house.
His house is so interesting to me because he's got like the car that's like inside as well.
Yeah, his house I feel like his house is a garage that's just been modified to like be a house or something.
Yeah. It looks really cool. I like the vibe of it. It's not my vibe, but I like it.
Yeah, it's like it is cool. Yeah, I personally would I don't know, wouldn't be my first choice, but like
No, but it makes sense for Babe.
it does. Yeah. I
He's got
do have concerns. I feel like you shouldn't be starting cars and motorcycles in your house, though. I feel like that's carbon monoxide. But
Yeah,
I guess
and
if
s
it's park garage, I don't know.
yeah, probably not the best idea. I don't know that the car ever really gets used. I think it just sits in there. I don't remember
Probably.
it ever. So the other thing is he's got, like, a mannequin with, like, the racing suit in, like, the corner, and the amount of times that would jump scare me.
No,
Um
yeah, I agree too. I would be like, if I like woke up in the middle of the night and like went to go to the bathroom or something, I would like piss myself if I kept seeing like the mannequin in the corner.
Yeah, every time I see the mannequin and, like, the background, that's all I can think of is, no, no.
I know. Oh my god, if I was in the Pit Babe universe and I was like a spy or something, I would just like get rid of the mannequin and I would become the mannequin and then no one would ever know. But speaking of spies, we learned that the X Hunters they have a rival team and they're called Red Racing. And their like garage has been expanding and they've been kind of like poaching drivers. And so the X Hunter guys they have to be careful about like not leaking information. And so Wei is like talking to Babe and he's like, "Hey, be careful around Charlie like in case he's like an informant for them, you know? Like
Mhm.
maybe Charlie's like a spy." He's like he kind of came at a convenient time. And then he says and I quote, "Though he has a wimpy face, it doesn't mean he can be trusted."
Everybody's so mean to Charlie, and Charlie's just trying to vibe.
Literally, like, Charlie's done literally nothing at this point except just kinda, like, smile and walk around and make food in a little apron and, like, yeah, everyone is always just, like, talking smack, like, to his face most of the time.
I couldn't handle that. I would be like, "Okay, I'm out, bye.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go somewhere where people don't hate me."
Yeah. I know, I need to know Charlie's, like his peace of mind is unmatched, honestly.
Right? Like, the amount of meditation it would take me to stay calm when somebody like Wei starts talking crap about me. Um
And his wimpy face. Yeah, and so the Red Racing they then like announce officially that they're being sponsored by a really wealthy corporation and the CEO of that corporation is Tony. And Tony is the one who first of all we find out he's the one who hired that one guy earlier to take pictures of Babe. Um and then he is also entering the racing market specifically to get to Babe. And so we're like, okay, what's who's
Honey
this like
gives me the creeps.
yeah, like what's Tony's deal, whatever. And Tony is like the adopted father of Babe, is kind of what we find out.
Is this when we find that out?
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, we get this little flashback of like Babe and Tony and Babe or Tony's like hitting Babe, but we find out that like Tony's technically like his adopted father. And so we're like, okay, that's interesting. I see why Babe doesn't have contact with him anymore, but Tony
Yeah.
apparently wants contact with him, which is why he's joining this racing market.
Yeah, this is not a good thing for anybody.
No. And to put matters worse, someone like calls Charlie and they're like, "Hey, like do you have any like you have like a report about Babe?" And he's just like, "Oh, like cuz Charlie's like with Babe. He's like, "Oh, not right now. I'll get back to you later." And so now we're sus of Charlie too.
Right? Maybe Wei was right.
Yeah, maybe Wave was right.
But with his what was it? His,
Wimpy
wimpy
face.
face.
Yeah, it was all a show.
In Nut we trust.
Right. I no matter what, I just can't hate Wei because I love Supernut so much. And Wei will do horrible things in the show, but I love him.
Yeah, it was one of those, like, while I was rewatching some of this to write some of the recap, I was like, "Oh, right, Wei was not good for a good while there." And then I was
Yeah,
like, "Oh, but I kinda don't blame him. I'm kinda not mad about it." I'm like, "God, BLs and me with, like, red flags, it's bad."
I know. Like it's
I'm
so
like,
colorblind.
"For real."
Yeah. Red, green, colorblind specifically.
Mhm. It's all green.
It's all yeah, right. Um, and yeah, so, like, think it's getting a little tense with the Red Racing situation because like, then Red Racing buys, like, 2 of the maintenance guys from, the X-Hunters, and so, yeah, it's kinda like a I don't know, a little feud thing, and at the same time, like, Charlie, he goes to meet a client, and then he goes to meet the client, and he's saying some cryptic things, so, again, we're a little sus of Charlie. And then, like, at the same time, Jeff shows up, and we haven't met Jeff yet, but, he's an engineering student, and he is looking to be hired as, like, a mechanic trainee. And since X Hunter, they're, like, short on repairmen because 2 of their, like, repair guys just got, you know, poached by Red Racing. They're like, "Okay, this guy doesn't have experience, but, like, we'll give him a chance. We'll hire him." Um,
Jeff is such a weird character.
he is. I from okay, when the first time I watched the show, and honestly, still, I was just like, I only care about Jeff. I was like, he's the only character I care about.
Yeah, 'cause he's just trying to get by, but, like, also he's super, like, loner dude.
Yeah. Yeah, he just kinda I don't know, he just, like, walks up and it's like he's very, like, standoffish and, like, keeps to himself and does not wanna be touched or talked to or anything, but, yeah, he just, like, shows up.
Also, convenient timing for him to show up, not gonna
Yeah.
lie. Um
Yeah, exactly, and it doesn't help either that we see that this is the same guy that Charlie met up with, like, earlier. He's, like, the quote, unquote, "client" or whatever that they were speaking to each other cryptically. And, so, like, now at the garage, like, Jeff and Charlie, they're kinda chatting in the corner of the garage, and, um, the rest of the garage people, they're, like, on another side, and they're kinda watching them get along, and they're like, "Oh, hey, like, hey, your boy is actually, like, being able to talk to Jeff." And then Babe gets kinda jealous because Jeff, like, wouldn't refuse to talk to anyone else. So, yeah, and, um
That's such a weird hire, like, "Yeah, you can be our trainee," and then, like, "You're not gonna talk to us?" Like,
yeah.
"Oh, what?"
Jeff, he's strictly there to fix cars and nothing else, and then maybe talk to Charlie. And that's just, like, his position right now. And we kinda go to their conversation to see what they're talking about, and they're talking about some sort of plan, and it seems like Charlie's like, "Oh, like, what are you doing here? Like, this, wasn't part of the plan, like, I didn't want you to get involved," and Jeff was kinda just like, "Oh, it'll be okay. Whatever."
Yep.
So we're like, "What are they up to?"
Nothing good, I'm sure.
Yeah.
'Cause wimpy face, but untrustworthy.
Yeah, yeah, right. They're both kinda just, like, small, scrawny, like, young-looking guys, so I guess they're you typically wouldn't, like, peg them right away as, like, "Oh, I think you're a spy," or whatever.
Mhm.
And Babe and Charlie, so they go to a gym together, because Babe's like, "Oh, to drive a race car, you have to, like, stay in shape." And they meet Kim there, who is, like, the newest racer for Red Racing. He is an overseas racer. He's Korean, which they mention all the time that he's Korean, but not once in the show do they make an effort to make him, like, actually seem Korean?
Yeah.
He's just, like, fluent in Thai, and I don't really know why he needed to be Korean.
I don't know either because the actor who plays him is very much Thai.
Yeah.
Um, and also the name Kim is a surname in Korea.
Exactly, yeah. I'm just like, I don't know, like, what the point was here, but yeah,
It's fine. I
yeah,
love
it's
Kim.
I love Kim too. He's like a fine character, so, um but this is the first time that they run into him, and then they make some bet where, like, I don't remember what the prize is, but, Babe is supposed to be the one to, like, box or wrestle Kim, but then Charlie steps in, he's like, "No, I'll do it instead, because you need to take care of your body." And I'm like, "Okay." So, somehow Charlie wins the fight, I don't really know how that's possible, um, but yeah, he wins, and so that's very exciting for him and Babe.
Yeah, that's another it's where nothing against Pooh, but it's a weird casting choice because based on like the novel description of Charlie, like him winning a fight isn't that surprising.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, here I was kinda like, "Oh, yeah, there's no way." But he pulls it off.
Sheer dumb luck.
Yeah, right.
The Charlie way.
And, yeah, I think this helps, like, Babe, care a little bit more about Charlie, and he's takes Charlie to his, like, car hangar. Is that I there that's only airplanes. His garage, I guess, his personal
Yeah.
garage. And there's just, like, a shit ton of cars there, like, Babe has so many cars. It's, like, insane. I don't know. I guess he makes a lot of money from racing, but it's, like, kinda crazy.
In the novel, it's he's got it too, and it's all supercars, so it's all like millions of dollars worth of cars.
Uh-huh.
And it is like he makes so in the novel, there's a lot more like with underground racing as well. So like the racing that like Pit Babe normally does is um is like legal racing, honestly. Like it's on a racetrack called the Hollows. Um but then like occasionally at night he does like the illegal street racing and it's a anything goes type of race. So
Okay.
you can do like literally whatever it takes to win. Like you can hit other cars, you can do whatever.
Oh, damn.
Um, right? Like you can have modifications to your cars to make them go faster type of a thing. And like the betting there is like literally it's kind of where that race comes in with Winner, where
Mhm.
Charlie is the prize.
Yeah.
Um because that race happens a little differently in the novel. Whereas it's at the street races they have that, and it's like Babe's like ex-boyfriend. Um,
Oh,
it's not Winter isn't in the novel as far as I've gotten. Um,
okay.
so it's like the ex-boyfriend, but Charlie is actually the one who does the race.
Oh.
But like Charlie's also the prize. Um,
Oh, okay.
but like apparently that's normal for like your like significant other fling, whatever you want to call it, to be the prize. But also like, the first time they go through the race, when Babe is actually racing, like, he just randomly bets 50,000.
Oh god.
So, like, his prize out of that was, like, 100,000,
Oh
which
my
he just,
god.
like, throws at Charlie and goes, "Yeah, you can have this."
Uh, okay, if I was Charlie, I would also be making carbonara and boxers and an apron.
Yeah. Charlie was like, What?" Like, he was very confused in the novel why Babe just handed him the prize money.
Yeah. Yeah, I honestly think he's pretty quickly like, whipped by Charlie, like, he never admits it, but he seems to, like, really like Charlie pretty early
Mhm.
on.
Yeah. So but yeah, so for Babe to have money and in the cars, it's he's making bank off of these races.
Yeah,
Um,
it seems so. Because yeah, then he finally, like, he, honors his part of the bargain to get Charlie a car, and so he takes Charlie to the garage, and he's like, "Hey, pick out whatever car you want." And Charlie picks out Babe's favorite car, and it's, like, an older car, but Babe's like, "Oh, you have great taste." Like, he's very impressed that Charlie didn't pick out, like, the newest, fastest looking car. And so because of this, he lets Charlie have it to race with.
I I don't know that I could let anybody race with my car.
Oh my god,
Like
no.
as especially like my favorite car
Yeah.
that has like sentimental value to it because it was like the first car that like Babe raced in or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so I would struggle. I'd be like literally any other car.
Yeah, I would too. And even like I think Wei is there and he's like, haha, pick again. That's Babe's favorite car, so you can't have that one. And then Babe's just like, oh, it's fine. And Wei's like, what? Very like honest reaction.
Honestly, same reaction.
Yeah.
What?
And so he lets Charlie take the car out for practice for the first time, and Mans is struggling. Like he's like not doing well at first. And then he starts to do a little better, and then people are like, "Oh, who's out there?" And they're like, "Oh, it's Charlie." And then they're like, "Oh, he's not doing too bad." But he's in the car with Babe, and then it's just like they're going kind of slow.
That would be me.
Yeah.
Um, I have an ex-boyfriend that had a V8 Mustang, and
Mhm.
I don't know how to drive stick.
Oh, me
And
neither.
right? And so he was like, "Well, I'll teach you." And I was like, "Okay." And the amount of power in just a regular, like, V8 Mustang, I
Mhm.
was so stressed every time I, like, tapped the gas.
Yeah.
Um, I did not learn how to drive it. I'll say that. I was
Yeah,
lucky I didn't wreck it. Um,
that's always the goal.
yeah, that was one of those I'm like, "This is the one and only time that I'm gonna get behind the wheel, and then for all of our sakes, if I learn manual, it's gonna be on a normal car."
Yeah. Yeah, if you're learning manual, you that's probably not the one you wanna start with.
No. The thing is already like, it's so big, like, I didn't realize how, like, wide, like, a Mustang is, but, it felt really wide, and then it was just the front end was so big because the engine's so big, and I was
Mhm.
like, "No." I can't imagine, like, an actual, like a supercar, anything that's actually designed, for some hardcore racing, like, I
Right.
would be in tears if somebody was like, "Here, drive this." I'd be like, "No, I'm gonna die."
Yeah, right. So I guess all things considering, Charlie's probably doing pretty well.
For
But
for no experience racing, I think he was doing fine. I
yeah,
just
yeah. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But yeah, he's out there and then he like comes when he comes in from racing, Wei kind of confronts him while he's alone. And he's basically just like, "I'm on to you, Charlie." And Charlie's like, "What are you talking about?" And Wei's like, "I see right through your scheme."
Whatever you say, Way.
Yeah, right.
No
Yeah,
one knows what's going on right now.
no. But Wei, I mean, whether he actually suspects Charlie of something or if he just subconsciously, like, really he, like, wants to get him away from Babe, so he's pinning all these things happening on Charlie, he's not a fan at all.
Yeah, that's his man, you know?
Yeah, right? He was there first.
Except he didn't make a dadgum move, so
Yeah, he lost his opportunity.
which I I think Babe would have turned him down anyway, but at least then he would have, maybe had closure.
Yeah, it could have, like,
Maybe.
moved on at some point, or maybe something could have happened between them? You never know.
Yeah.
And so then Kenta, who he's from Red Racing, he's Tony's assistant, he was the guy that was, like, taking pictures of Babe and stuff before. He's shows up at the gym, and he tries to buy Babe off of Alan. And Jeff is secretly listening to this. But Alan's like, "No, I'm not. Like, Babe is our best racer. I'm not like selling him."
That's such a bold move of being like, "I'll give you all the money you want to have your best racer move to our team." Like,
Yeah.
I feel like that's normally, like, the move where you go ask the racer, "Hey, if I give you this money, will you come join our team?"
Yeah, not the team owner.
Yeah. Which good on Alan for being like, "Nah, I don't need your money." Even
Yeah,
though I
right.
probably coulda used the money. Um
Yeah, at this point they're definitely a little strapped for cash, especially since like their opposing their rival team has such a strong sponsor now. So the money thing is definitely like starting to create some pressure for them. And
which is a little interesting because I feel like Babe has the money to to fund whatever they need.
I know,
Um,
that's why I was, like, confused with the money thing because 'cause I'm like, Babe has so much money, but then the gym's talking about how, like or not the gym, the garage is talking about how they don't have, like, the funds and stuff, and I'm like, "Okay, so what is it?"
maybe it's a pride thing. You know how men are.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
where it's, you know, doesn't want to use like babe's money type of a deal. So
yeah. I don't even really know what they need money for at this point.
car upkeep is expensive.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense completely, but if Babe has, like, 17 cars, then just swap them out, you know?
Yeah. So,
But
but
yeah,
I
that's
think it's
also
that
why, like, when Jeff came and he was like, "I'll work for free," they were like, "Oh, okay, we might consider this."
that's awfully convenient. It's just
Yeah. Yeah, right. And, speaking of which, Jeff and Alan, they have a little moment, a little flirty.
I love Alan so much. I'm not gonna lie.
I do too. I honestly really like Jeff and Alan together. I know,
Yes.
like, in the show, there's kind of an age difference because they mention that Alan or Jeff is 20 and then Alan appears to be, like, early 30s.
Yeah. I was so glad the actors that play them are like less than a year apart, I think.
Yeah, they're, like, the same age, like, for some reason somehow they're both, like, late 20s, early 30s. Jeff just the actor who plays him just looks really, really young. And I
Yeah.
literally had to look it up too because I was like, "Oh, I think these 2 are really cute together, but I, like, hope it's not problematic," you know?
Yeah. I was like, I need this to like not make me uncomfortable.
Yeah, right. Because he in the show, Jeff, like, literally looks like he's, like, a teenager, you know?
Yeah.
He's, like, 28 or something.
Which even in like the new show that those two have together, it's still he still looks so much younger.
Yeah, I think yeah, that's just, like, how he looks, I guess, but they
Yeah, it just
definitely, like, lean into it, you know?
yeah. Oh.
Um, so yeah, I like them together. They have, like, a little moment because like, Jeff doesn't really talk. He's very standoffish, but he'll talk to Alan a little bit, which is, like, kinda cute.
Mhm. Alan is down bad real quick.
Oh, yeah. Right away. Alan, he cares a lot for everyone in the garage, and especially for Jeff, and yeah, right away, he's, like, into it.
Alan reminds me a lot of from Not Me, the Off Gun show.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
The like leader of that group.
Yeah,
He gives the same energy.
he
Like
does, kinda like father figure vibes to, like, everyone, you know?
yeah, because it's so I've talked about it before. I cannot remember the character's name or the actor's name right now, but like he knows that like Off's character is like a twin and like they've switched places. Like he figures it out like immediately and just doesn't say anything. And I
Yeah.
feel like it's that same kind of energy where like Alan's probably like, yeah, something's weird, but it's fine.
Yeah, and he's also like, "Yeah, I know, like, Way's been in love with, like, Babe for many years, but, like, it's not my business, so I'm gonna, like, keep out of
Yep.
it for the most part."
Like I'm here for moral support for whoever needs it, but like I'm not gonna like do anything.
Yeah, right. So, yeah, they're cute. A lot of their moments, like, aren't super they don't affect the plot that much, but I think they're cute, so I just wanted to make
Hmm.
sure we knew that that was kind of ongoing in the background. And then we get some heavy exposition. So, Babe tells Charlie some of his backstory. So his father went bankrupt and they sold off the house to pay the debt. And then his father left and he was adopted by Tony. And Tony has a lot of other kids, but they were all separated in this big house and they never saw each other. And he began to develop his like special sense, and so he could start hearing things that he wasn't able to see. So he could like hear all these other kids in this house even if he couldn't see them, and so he kind of had a sense of like what was going on with that. And then he was like trained by Tony to get really strong with his ability. And then one day he realized that Tony was the one that caused his father to go bankrupt, and so he decided to escape Tony's house. So that's like his entire backstory and kind of the setup of Tony's orphanage he's running.
This is such a sad backstory because, like,
Mhm.
Babe and his dad were, like, homeless for a while,
Mhm.
um, and it's such a like, honestly, such a real story, right? Like, that's something that very easily could have happened, at least that part, to anybody,
Yeah.
and it made me sad.
I know. Yeah, Babe's been through a
A
lot.
lot.
Yeah. I mean, pretty much all the kids have been under Tony. Tony's not a very nice guy if
No.
haven't realized. But yeah, that's yeah, Babe and Tony they're do not get along anymore, but they were close at one point because Babe w- was like Tony's most prized possession for a bit. So that's he tells Charlie all this, shows that they've gotten closer.
Yeah,
And
because he doesn't tell many people his backstory.
mm-mm. And Charlie does not return any of his backstory, just to note.
Yeah. It's interesting how, like, down bad Babe is, and he's doesn't really know anything about Charlie.
No, yeah, he just knows that Charlie doesn't smell, so he's like, okay, that's enough for me. Get you a man who doesn't smell.
I mean, sometimes the bar is that low, right?
Yeah, right. I was like, okay, Charlie, you passed the test. And so because of like the money issues, Alan goes to meet Pete. And Pete is a new character. He's um the competitor of Tony's company, so he's also like a rich businessman. And he tries to get Pete to invest in X Hunter. And he's like, "Hey, basically look, your competitors investing in this racing company, but we are better, like we've beaten that racing company like every time, so you should invest in us." And it was a good sales pitch because Pete agrees.
I like Pete. I like Pete a lot.
I like Pete too. Yeah, I think the first time I watched the show, like at this point, there were so many characters I couldn't quite keep them straight. And so I remember Pete from later in the show, but I didn't realize that we met him like this early on.
Yeah, he doesn't seem nearly as important at this point compared to where he becomes.
Right. Yeah, so it, like, took me a bit to realize, like, "Oh, okay, this is why the show is actually good to, like, rewatch because I can pick up some of the little plot points that I definitely missed when I first watched
Yeah.
it."
Yeah, I think it makes a lot more sense a second watch through.
It does, yeah. And, so okay, so that all happens. We're kinda bouncing around now, but, at the Red Racing Gym, Winner mentions to Kim something about Babe not being able to drive in the future. And Kim kinda confronts him, he's like, "Are you planning to do something? Like, why wouldn't he be able to drive?" And then Winner is just kinda tells him, like, "Sit back and mind his own business." And Kim immediate like, red flags go up for him because he's like an honorable racer, he's, like, genuinely, like, likes racing, and he doesn't like the insinuation that like maybe like oh Babe's gonna get hurt in the future, whatever. He's just like, wait, what? Like, are you gonna do something? Like, he doesn't really like that.
Him has very strong morals, and I love him for that.
I do too. But unfortunately he goes to Tony with this information and he's like, "Hey, Winter told me that he's probably like planning to do something to hurt Babe." And Tony's just like, "I don't care." I'm like, okay, Kim, you did not go to the right person, but I appreciate the effort.
I mean, at that point, that's who I would have gone to as well without
Yeah,
knowing anything. I'd have just been like, "Hey, this team you're investing in is kind of shady. What's the deal here?"
yeah. Yeah, he's new here, so he doesn't realize that Tony is, like, pulling all the strings behind all of this.
Yeah.
So that's kinda brewing in the background, and, um, Wei shows Babe some video of, like, Charlie going into, like, a condo with some guy, and, he tells Babe, like, "Hey, like, don't trust him. Look, he's meeting up with, like, strange men, I guess." I don't know. I don't know what ways trying to, like, show Charlie that or show Babe that Charlie's, like, cheating on him, or that he's like, a spy or something. I'm not really sure what his intention is with this, but
I At this point, I think, Way's just whatever it takes to get rid of Charlie.
yeah, exactly.
Whatever
He's just,
logic
like, digging up
sticks.
any dirt, you know? And it kinda works 'cause, when so Charlie's at Babe's house and he's like, "Hey, I gotta go see a client," and this time Babe, like, follows him because he's kinda curious, doesn't quite trust him fully, and he sees that Charlie is meeting up with Jeff, and they, like, go into, like, an apartment together, and um, so Babe, he's upset, he drives off and he gets drunk and he's mad at Charlie, and he's still mad at Charlie for a while. He doesn't let Charlie help him concentrate for the next race. And because of that, Kim wins the race, even though apparently it's just like a qualifying race. Like I think it's to determine what order they start in. So it's not the actual race. So it's not that big of a deal, but it is the first time that he's raced against Kim and he has lost. So that's not good.
Yep.
And Babes tells Charlie to leave him alone.
It's like the one thing Charlie's not good at doing is listening to Babe when he says, "Leave me alone."
Oh my
Um
god, no, he's so insistent, like, or persistent. Charlie just hears only what he wants to hear.
Mhm. Which
And
I guess
because
you kinda have to be that way with Babe, otherwise, like, they would've fizzled out, like, a long time ago.
that's true. And I mean, and it like does work out, but if it were me and told someone to leave me alone and they kept constantly like contacting me and like all that, like it would be I would like doubly like be done and over with it.
Right? I'm like, "Okay, is it restraining order time?"
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I guess I don't know. It works for Babe. But in the meantime he's, down in his feels, and so to cheer him up, Wei takes Babe to some like restaurant they used to go to when they were like younger. And I feel like it's the first time in this show that we've seen Babe genuinely like laugh and smile and like have a good time.
And it's with our bestie Way.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why I like seeing them together because Babe just always seems so much more comfortable and like happy, you know?
Mhm.
Like he like shows emotion. And so like that was like a nice little scene to see like, you know, Babe be like not have any like walls up or anything and just see him like actually like enjoy himself.
Mhm. A
Y-
rare a rare
Yeah,
occasion.
I know, right? And so this is okay. If this part seems random, it's because it is. This is just like how it happens in the show. But from there we go to Babe. He's just like driving down the street and some like guy on a bike like cuts him off. And he gets mad and he like jumps out of his car and he's like, "What are you guys doing?" And then the guys on the bike jump him. And then literally out of nowhere, they're in some like random ass intersection. Charlie runs over and he's like he's gonna save Babe or whatever, and he's just like taking the hits for Babe instead. Like he's getting beat by like a baton until the cops come. And it's so random and out of nowhere, and like I have so many questions.
You know, something similar happened in the novel, and it's also not explained.
Yeah.
And, like, even Babe's like, "Where did you come from?" And, like, Charlie just doesn't answer, and then they just move on.
In the show, I don't even think he asks. I think I don't know. He just like accepts it, and I'm like, what? Like it's so weird, and I don't know. Whatever. We'll just let this This scene basically happens for 2 reasons. The first reason is that they assume Red Racing did it. They assume that Red Racing was trying to injure Babe before the actual race happens. And then the second reason is because after, like, Charlie gets hurt, because this is, like, on the way to the race, but, because Charlie gets hurt, like, Babe isn't giving him the cold shoulder anymore. He's, like, kinda worried about Charlie. So I think it happens for those 2 reasons, but it is extremely random and just like, well, that was convenient. So yeah, during the actual race, Babe does win, and Kim confronts Winner again and about attacking Babe, and he was like, "Did you do this?" Because like he'd said previously that something he kind of insinuated something like Babe was gonna get hurt. And Winter denies it, and he says that he didn't do it. He didn't have any part of it. So,
Seems sus to
what do
me.
we yeah, like, the timing is just, like, too perfect, so,
Mhm.
maybe Winter himself didn't do it, but I feel like definitely had some part in it, or at least Red Rising did.
Mhm.
Red
Red
Racing.
Rising.
I keep saying Red Rising because of the book. So, like, after this, like, Babe's pretty pissed. He just goes to Tony's house. He just beats up a couple bodyguards who try to stop him. He, like, bursts into Tony's office and, like, yells at him and then just, like, leaves. And yeah.
I like that Tony just kinda lets it happen because if he really wanted to, he could stop Babe from, like, barging in his house and doing anything like that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's honestly if I was Babe, I'd be too scared to do that, but I don't know. I guess Babe's great at fighting because he literally takes out a couple bodyguards and yeah. So yeah, he just yells at Tony and like leaves. So
Such a weird move.
I know. And Babe like tries to end things with Charlie cuz probably because he doesn't want Charlie to get hurt again, but also because like he still doesn't know what's going on with like Charlie and Jeff, and now Charlie's hurt cuz he was protecting Babe, and I think Babe's just like I don't like want you involved in this anymore. I don't want to be involved in this. So he kind of ends things, and now Babe's being like a bitch to everyone in the garage because he's like upset about him and Charlie like breaking up, and he's just like in a foul mood. And
Sounds about right.
like yeah, very typical Babe behavior at this point. And Jeff goes up to Babe and he's like, "Hey, like Charlie and I have literally nothing going on. Like you're misunderstanding us. Like if that's what you're worried about, like we literally have nothing going on." And then in this conversation he like touches Babe's arm and has this like that's so Raven vision of like a car crash happening. Like he just like touches Babe and then it's like and then we just see this like car crash and we're like, "Oh, okay.
Yep.
That must be his power."
Mhm. Which that's such a stressful power to have. Um,
That is I would out of all like superpowers, I would not want to be able to see the future.
no, I don't need to know.
No, I don't either. I don't wanna know. There's like no I feel like at that point, like there's no way to avoid it, you know?
Yeah.
Just like a curse.
Yeah, I don't think Jeff has a very good grasp on it either, so
No, because I don't think he's like trying to see the future when he
Mhm.
like touches people, but it seems like every time it happens, it kind of takes him off guard. So
Yeah.
yeah. So that's probably like now we can understand Jeff a little better, probably on why he doesn't want to talk to people. He doesn't want to like touch people, He probably doesn't want to get attached and he doesn't want to have these visions and stuff. It's like a curse to him. So it kind of makes sense why he's a bit more like prickly than most people.
Yeah, I don't think he really has, like, good visions.
Mm.
It's a lot of death.
I think they're only bad.
Yeah.
Like, why can't he touch someone and be like, wow, you'll have a beautiful wedding in the future? And then on the other hand, this is kind of random, but Pete is just like out in the woods shooting archery. He's like the investor for X Hunters. And Kenta sees him out there and he calls Tony and he's like, "We found him." And then that's it. Like,
Okay,
that,
Kenta.
yeah. Like, I don't know for like why Pete's out there shooting archery anyway, and I don't know. Like, I didn't think Pete was difficult to find, considering that like X Hunters literally called him up for a meeting and sat down for a meeting, and we're like, "Hey, invest in us." Like,
Yeah.
it's not like he was off the radar.
Yeah, like, throughout the whole show, he's just in, like, a bunch of, like, business meetings and, like, just doing normal stuff, like, he's snooping around a little bit here and there, but for the most part, he really isn't difficult to find.
No, I feel like the hardest place to find him would be in the middle of the woods. Like, maybe try his office building.
Right? Like, I don't think he's out hiding, he's just doing his own thing.
Yeah, I think he's like came back from abroad recently, but like still, if the X Hunters were able to, just get a meeting with him,
Yeah.
I didn't seem like that difficult, to be honest.
That's Kenta and Tony making things difficult for no reason. For the
Yeah.
dramatics.
And um Charlie doesn't want to stop seeing Babe, so he's like harassing him still and hanging out at the garage still. And God, there's just so this is the beginning of like the god awful ads. Like there's been a couple before, but they're kind of like integrated okay because it'll be like an ad for like instant noodles and they'll be making instant noodles. It's like, okay, that's passable. But this one, it's literally Charlie's using some like I don't know what it is. I don't it looks like acne cream to me. And he basically like uses it and he was like, "Wow, my skin looks so good." And then he takes a selfie with him and the cream and sends a picture to Babe and he was like, can you just imagine if you were dumped and then you send a picture to your like ex and you're just like, "You should try this acne cream." Like I'd be offended.
That's yeah, the ads in the show crack me up so much because they're so out of place,
They're always just like in the bathroom for no reason. Like
right? Like you said with like making like the instant ramen, like that's fine. And like a lot of the times in a lot of other shows, it'll be like somebody will like be like, "Oh, I bought you a drink here," and like, but it's like a reasonable time to like be drinking something.
yeah.
Um, and so I'm like, okay, like it's very clear, like we're getting a shot of like the label. They're purposely holding it in a way to where the label's clear. Like it's fine. Like I'll allow it. Like whatever it takes to pay the bills. But like for real, when it's like here's a random shot in the bathroom for no reason, like
Yeah.
nothing else is happening in this besides this ad.
Yeah, it's like we're at the garage and then we're in the bathroom doing an ad and then we're like at the garage again. It's like, "Oh, okay."
it's it's giving like YouTuber who has to like throw an ad in the middle of their video. Um
It really is, yeah. It's their, NordVPN. And so, yeah, now that they've get their ad revenue, um, the next race they're okay, so it's the next race and it's like a, contest and Babe is driving like a little weird and they're like, "What's going on?" And then he spins out and his car freaking explodes. Like he doesn't really crash, his car just explodes. And it's pretty scary. Charlie's there, of course, and so he runs out to the car and drags Babe out of the car and Babe's alive, luckily, and he just has to go to the hospital. Um, but yeah, pretty scary. Um, when they're in the hospital, like Charlie, he's like taking care of Babe, and Babe pretends like he doesn't like it, but he's secretly like smiling when Charlie's not looking.
Yeah. So this is another one of those it's kind of like a minor change, but when this accident happens in the book, Babe actually jumps out of the car like before it explodes. So
Oh, okay.
that's how he ends up hurt is actually from him like ejecting himself out of the car. Um,
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean that seems a little bit more reasonable than being in a car that explodes and like he has like scratches and like maybe like a dislocated shoulder, but he's not like burned, it doesn't look like.
yeah.
And he is wearing the racers wear like the flame proof clothing or whatever, but I don't know if it's really like gonna save your life. Like the car is like a fireball. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
that strong.
Yeah, those suits only do so much.
You're right. And he does kind of yell at Charlie too. He's like, "Hey, I'm in this like flame proof suit, but you ran into the explosion like with no protection, and like you're put." He was kind of like mad at Charlie for putting himself at risk more than anything else.
Which valid, because also everybody
Yeah.
else that actually knows how to handle an exploded car,
Yeah,
also
yeah.
now has to worry about Charlie.
Yeah. But yeah, fortunately like Charlie's fine, Babe is mostly fine. But the the accident was suspicious, and so Kim thinks that Winner sabotaged Babe again. But Winner once again claims he didn't do it, and he was like, well, maybe it was someone on their team. And so at the same time, Wei and Alan, they're like, okay, this might have been foul play, and their first immediate suspect is Jeff,
Poor Jeff.
which kind of valid.
Yeah, because Jeff was the one working on the car.
Yeah, and he joined around the time when all this like red racing stuff happened, and with Babe getting hurt, and so time wise, like they're kind of suspecting Jeff, but they're not like they're just like not sure what happened really. So to get to the bottom of it, they at the garage, Way kind of confronts Jeff, and Jeff says it wasn't him. And Alan's kind of just playing like the middleman, like he's trying to be fair and understand both sides. And he's just kind of like, okay, well, we have no evidence that you did it. We have no evidence that you didn't do it. And then out of nowhere, another guy, we meet a new character. I think his name's Dean. He pulls up and he's like, actually, I have evidence. And just he opens his phone and it's like a video of Jeff working on the car like secretly at night. And that's his evidence.
I mean, it's pretty solid evidence, I'm not gonna lie.
Y- yeah, it's pretty sus. This is a common reoccurrence in the show, but people will constantly just like whip out their phone and just immediately have the correct surveillance video on it.
It's just
Like,
always the app that's open.
yeah, and like right at the correct timestamp, like, and so that's their evidence, and yeah, it's not looking too good for Jeff, and of course Jeff doesn't really have a way to like defend himself. Um, and so Charlie steps in, and he like vouches for Jeff. He's like, yeah, Jeff, he's not a spy, he's actually my brother. Ugh.
Dun dun dun.
Oh my god. And I don't know if that's really gonna help much because it's weird they lied about that. But he's basically like, oh yeah, we didn't tell anyone because Jeff wanted to like prove the skills and get on the team like because of like of him being a good mechanic instead of using connections. And it's first of all like what connection? Like you're literally like at the time that Jeff joined, like you were literally just the random guy who's been sleeping with Babe for a couple days. Like that's not really like nepotism.
It's close enough.
Yeah, right. And so yeah, it's pretty sus. I don't know. To me, it's a pretty weak reason to be
Yeah.
lying about them, you know.
No, I
But
agree.
yeah. But like fortunately, Charlie also has a video on his phone conveniently pulled up of another person who's sneaking in the middle of the night and working on Babe's car.
Why is everybody at the garage in the middle of the night?
I don't know. I think they need to really just like sit down and just like watch all the surveillance footage or something. Like,
Get a better
'cause
security system.
yeah, people are constantly just coming in and like messing with his car. And this is kind of enough to help like prove that maybe Jeff is innocent. And so like Jeff leaves the garage and Alan's still trying to stop him. Like Alan's like really trying to get to the bottom of this, and he I think deep down he believes that it like wasn't Jeff. So It's kind of a whole mess. And Babe, he comes home from the hospital and Charlie's taking care of him and somehow I don't remember how, but Babe finds out about Charlie and Jeff being brothers and he's salty that like they lied to him.
Of course.
Yeah. And it doesn't imagine like dating someone and then they pretend like they're meeting someone for the first time, but they're actually brothers. Like
Yeah.
I would have been like, what? Like I would have just I don't know.
My trust issues go too deep.
I know, like Babe like kind of doesn't care, but I feel like it's like really weird.
Yeah.
But I guess I don't know. They make up. Babe's always talking about how he has trust issues, but when it comes down to it, whenever it comes to Charlie, he's just like okay with everything that Charlie does.
It's I don't like it, but I'm gonna ignore it.
Yeah, right. And Kim is also trying to help figure out who sabotaged Babe's car. Because he, once again, he's morally upstanding and he doesn't like the fact that someone's trying to kill another racer so he could win. And so they're looking at the surveillance footage and they kind of mentioned that like the person who did it seemed to be aware of where all the CCTV was located and so that's how they're able to avoid it. So it now kind of seems like the person who sabotaged um Babe was from the X Hunter team because they were so familiar with like the whole area.
Yeah.
So that's messy. And we then see Tony. This I only included this because this is my favorite scene in the whole show. Um, Tony just like cartoonishly as hell. He just throws like his little matcha drink at Kenta. I I don't even know why. I think because like Kenta was trying to buy Babe, but whoever has Babe's contract like refused unless the money was tripled. And so Kenta like walks in to tell Tony this, and Tony just like stands up and then just like chucks the drink on Kenta. It's so bad. It's like so bad it's good, you know?
That had to be so weird to film.
Yeah. It was like a one take thing for sure. Cause
I
like,
hope.
yeah.
For
But
for the guy
it
who
was
plays
very
Kenta.
slapstick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like matcha, but it's like in like a wine glass, you know?
Mhm.
So I literally only included that because I thought that scene was funny. And then Babe also realizes that since the accident, his special alpha senses are gone. Oh no. And he's just kind of chalks it up to being like, oh, he's like recovering and healing. So it probably has something to do with that. But he definitely like he doesn't have those like senses anymore. So that's kind of weird.
That would be such a weird feeling that all of a sudden all of your senses are, like, duller to, like, a normal level.
Yeah, right. Like, and to Babe, I mean, I'm sure it's, like, part relief, but also, like, concerning, you know? Because like, he has a lot of trouble because of his senses, but also his senses are, like, what make him such a talented driver and fighter and everything.
Mhm.
And so, like, while this is happening, Charlie, he's starting to train to race in, like, Babe's place because now they're short a driver, and so, like, Babe is, like, helping him, like, on the driving simulator and stuff, and Dean also wants to take Babe's spot. So they have a little race where it's like Babe versus Dean versus Charlie. And obviously Babe wins, even though he doesn't have his senses and he's still a little injured. He's the much more experienced driver, so he wins. And then Charlie is second, which means that between Charlie and Dean, Charlie wins the spot on the team. And Dean is pissed. He's so mad because he's been with X Hunters like a lot longer than Charlie, and he's like, "What the fuck?" But
Yeah, I'd
Alan's
be
kind of just like, "Well, Charlie's the better driver."
yeah, I'd be mad too if I was Dean, but also,
Yeah,
like, You let the kid who's had like a month of driving training beat you, like that's that's a you problem. Um
Yeah, right. It's understandable, but yeah. And Alan and Jeff have a little love actually moment. Jeff is like sitting in a cafe and then Alan's just like outside the window holding up signs apologizing to him. And yeah, it's kind of cute, but also there's like other people in the cafe and they're just like what's going on?
I
But yeah.
that's the thing I love in BLs is when something like that happens and it's you know that if you were in that cafe you'd be like like phones out filming whatever's happening and it just a lot of times like nobody's even looking.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's like it's cute overall, like Alan feels bad that he even thought to that Jeff might have done something like this, which I think it was like fair to
Yeah.
question. But yeah, so they sit and talk, but he's like outside the window holding up signs for like a while.
They're so cute.
They
Alan and
are
Jeff.
cute.
I'm here for
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, this is the part of the show where I started caring more about Alan and Jeff than I did Babe and Charlie, to be honest.
That's fair.
Yeah,
'Cause their romance, whatever you wanna call it at this point, at least makes a little more sense than Babe and Charlie.
it does. It's more natural and
Yeah.
like the characters I like prefer their characters more than I do Babe and Charlie.
Yeah, I really like Babe, I don't like Charlie.
Yeah, I like Babe too, but I wonder how much of that is me actually really just liking Pavel and how
Yeah.
much I like Babe, apart from that.
Yeah, that is a very strong factor because I do adore Pavel.
Yeah. And I'm just like not a big fan of Charlie, so that, you know, doesn't help
Yeah.
either. I get
It's
bad vibes from him.
yeah, it's his dumb face.
It It's his, wimpy face or whatever
Yeah.
whatever Wei said before.
Yeah, I don't like looking at it.
Yeah. And at least okay, and then this next scene though, I, like, started to like them a little bit more together. So they're, Babe and Charlie, they're, like, kinda sitting on the racetrack at night and they're stargazing. And, like, this is kinda the first time in the show that I actually see, like, Babe enjoy being around Charlie. Like, they're actually, like, having a conversation, which is crazy, and they're laughing and chatting, and then they become, like, official, like, they become boyfriends. And
About
so
time, because
yeah,
they've been
right?
together for a while.
I know. And so, like, okay, I see this and I'm like, "Okay, they're kinda, like they're cute together." But then they start this whole, like, mama and papa thing. Like like, Charlie's just like, "Oh, do you wanna have kids?" And Babe's like, "We've been together for, like, 8 minutes." And then Charlie's like, "Oh, well, if we have kids, they're gonna call you mama and me papa." And then for the rest of the goddamn show, they always call each other mama and papa. I hate it so much.
I think
I'm not a fan.
what's worse is Pavel and Pooh still use that too.
They do, and at least it's kinda, like, ironic, so it's kinda funny, but
It's funny, but it's still it just I don't need it.
I don't either. That's, like, literally the worst, like, pet name you could have.
Right? And that's I don't the whole thought of pregnancy, I think we're on the same page of this, is, like,
Yeah.
traumatic just to even think about. Um,
Yes.
so this is it's like a trigger of, like, I don't wanna think about pregnancy. Um,
No. Yeah, I don't it's just, like, a total, like, uh not even
yeah.
more than, like, a turn off, it's just, like, strikes fear in my heart to be
Yes.
referred to as, like, mama. I'm like, "Ugh," like, you
That
know?
I would whatever, like, date, whatever, like, moment is happening is done. I don't know if the relationship can continue.
Yeah, literally.
Like,
I would
that
end
is
things right there.
like, not to be dramatic, but I would be dramatic.
Yeah.
Like, no. No, 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 no.
I'm glad we equally hate this, like,
Yeah.
together, you know?
Yeah. I know that is a kink for some people, but that is not mine by any stretch.
No.
Um,
Yeah, no kink shaming, but personally,
I
I'm
just
this is
it
my greatest fear.
yes.
But I'm sure some people think it's cute, and I guess they think it's cute, so whatever. As long as they're enjoying each other's company for the first time in this whole show, I'm like, I guess whatever you have to do, but count me out. Oh, and then they start fucking in the locker room again. Like, go home and use your bed.
Why when there's a perfectly good locker room?
I know, everyone's texting the group chat like, "Oh, babe's in there again." But at least it's, like, night, so it's like no one is there, but it doesn't look comfortable either. They're on, like,
No.
the freaking sink counter, and I'm like, "Ugh, it doesn't look." I don't know.
Yeah, no.
I'd get, like, a backache or something. Whatever. There's alphas, so yeah, and then, so yeah, Dean's still pissed, and he's being mean to everyone and he's, like, yelling at people in the garage, and Alan, like, hits him, and he bans him from coming to the garage for, like, a week.
Good for you,
He's
Alan.
Yeah, he's Dean is suspended, so
He
which
needs
is
the
good because
timeout.
yeah, Dean's kinda really getting on everyone's nerves, so he's out for a bit. And Babe and Charlie, they're being a lot more like coupley domestic together, and they go to like Babe's dad's old house, like the one that he lost to debt, but then I guess Babe bought it back, and he's trying to figure out like what to do with the house, but they end up taking like some selfies together.
No.
Yeah, and they're cute, like I'm like, okay, like they're actually, Babe isn't pretending to hate him anymore, so that's good. And then Alan and Jeff also make up, and Jeff comes back to the garage to work, and he ends up talking to Babe, and he touches Babe again and has another weird vision
That's
that
so
he had
stressful.
before. Yeah, God, I would. Yeah, I don't blame Jeff for becoming like a very antisocial, you know.
Mhm. 'Cause
And
he's definitely not trying to have these visions.
no, yeah, they're very unwanted, and they bother Jeff a lot reasonably, so yeah, he's never happy when they happen. And then like on a lighter note, I guess Charlie posts their selfie together, and so the friend group they're at the diner bar, and the friend group like sees their selfies together, and they're like, oh, like what's going on, whatever. And then they confirm that they're an official couple, Charlie and Babe are, and they're kinda, like, they're having a shot to, like, celebrate, and Wei just kinda, like, silently walks off alone, um, because he's a sad boy, and Babe follows him out, and at this point, he kinda just keeps talking about how, like, "Oh, like, I know you don't trust Charlie, but, like, I trust him, like, can't you just" like, he still kinda thinks that Wei doesn't like Charlie just because Wei thinks he might be, like, an informant. And Wei is just kinda like, "Come on, like, you really don't know how I feel?" And then finally, Babe's just kinda like, "Oh, like, I do know how you feel, but I'm just, like, thankful that you're my friend." And Wei is just like, "Oh, so you, like, really don't care about my feelings, you're just gonna ignore them." And I just wish they would kiss so bad. I forget about Charlie, I'm just like, "Ooh, you guys would be so cute together."
The tension is there.
Yeah. The tension really is there, and I do really feel bad for Wei because, like, unrequited love really sucks, whether he, tried to do anything about it or not. It's like, I do feel bad for him.
Mhm.
And especially, like, because Babe too kind of admits that, like, he knows Wei's feelings, but he, doesn't want to talk about it. Like I get, like, Babe wants to just, like, Way's his best friend, and Babe has said that he's his only friend,
Oh,
and I know, and so, like, Babe doesn't want to, like, risk losing Way because of this, and so I get him too for kind of, like, avoiding the conversation, but
that's
Way
always such
does kinda storm off, you know?
yeah, that's always such a stress that it's like I don't want to mess up the friendship by like expressing my feelings or whatever, and it's like but you're also putting a strain on this friendship by not like just talking it out one way or another.
Right.
Like
Yeah, and it
that's
was
such
probably something where, like, because it's been years and nothing's ever changed, Babe probably didn't feel a need to, like, address it until Wade bottled it all up so much until, now it's kinda coming apart.
yeah, I mean it should have been a way that said anything at literally
Yeah,
any point.
literally, yeah. But, it's too late now because
Yeah.
Babe's
Waited
officially taken for literally the first time. I don't know why you waited until now, but okay.
right? Like so dumb.
It is. Yeah. But yeah, I still want them to kiss. They don't. And then Jeff tells Charlie about the vision he had when he touched Babe. And he's like, "Yeah, the vision was it's Babe's car like flipping and then there's like a body and like a pile of blood." And Jeff's like, "Yeah, my visions are never wrong. The body could be you. I want you to stop seeing Babe to like protect your life." Like he's like, "I know like this is important to you, but it's not important enough that like you could die if you're kind of involved with this." So poor Jeff has to deal with that burden of knowledge.
I feel so bad for Jeff.
I
Like
do too.
like he's just here trying to keep people alive, honestly,
Yeah, I
and
know.
and not touch people.
Yeah. Yeah, Jeff like knows a lot, but it's like, because his visions are like always correct and stuff, like there's not anything he can do about it.
Mhm.
And so like this is a different day, but Wei once again is back at the diner bar and he's drinking. And Pete approaches him to chat and Wei is just like drunk as hell. And so Pete brings him home and kind of like takes care of him and stuff. It's pretty nice.
I love
So
Pete.
I know, and he like leaves him a little note. And he's like, "Hey, if you ever need like a drinking buddy, like call me, whatever." So yeah, that's very nice of Pete. I'm glad someone is taking care of Wei because he's kind of a mess right now. And um, so Kim once again is just going around to people at Red Racing and like asking them if they fucked with Babe. And so he goes up to Tony again and he's like, "Did you mess with Babe's car?" And Tony doesn't like directly respond, but he's just like, "Oh yeah, everything I've done is to help Red Racing win," which is slightly an admission of guilt. And because Kim is just like so against this, Tony ends his contract with Kim, and so Kim is like released from Red Racing, and it seems to be that they're still negotiating for Babe's contract, which I don't really understand this because like who owns Babe's contract?
I thought it was Alan.
I thought so too, but they're like, I don't know. This is probably just something like I missed or I'm misunderstanding, but I don't like. I swear they're talking like they're. I don't know. I don't. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, I know Tony still wants Babe to like come home. Um
Yeah,
but it might just be like instead of like financially negotiating, is it financially negotiating or is it
it
just like how do we force
it
Babe to come back?
it's like financially because I
Okay.
think at this point, Tony is like, okay, freeze all of like Red Racing's funds. Like we're gonna use all the money to get this contract.
I wonder if he just thinks he can just throw even more money at Alan. Alan will finally give in.
Maybe that. Yeah, that could be it. So, or maybe it's like Pete, I guess, because he's the sponsor. Maybe like he has the contract. I don't know. I'm
I
confused about this part,
yeah.
but it's not. I don't think it's like that important.
Not really.
Yeah. So yeah, after the Kim's contract with Tony ends, Kim meets up with Babe. This is a weird scene too, very awfully convenient, but they meet up in like some bar and Kim's like, "Hey, I know that Tony raises children to sell." Like he's taken like screenshots of some of Tony's like information in his office. And he's like, "And I know that you like he sold you for like the highest price out of everyone." And then he's like, "I also know something else." And then he has Babe turn around, and behind them is Charlie having a meeting with Tony and with some other guy. Just like, I don't, it's so weird. I don't know, like, such a, what a coincidence, you know? And I don't know how they like, don't see each other. Like,
Yeah.
Tony and Charlie.
Yeah, I don't entirely like, I understand the scene, but I don't understand how that scene happened either.
I also
Um
don't understand why. So, okay, so we learned that Charlie is another one of Tony's adopted sons, but I
Mhm.
don't understand why him and Charlie are like, I don't know. I guess so. Tony asked Charlie if he's met Jeff. He's like, "You guys, I think were like had your rooms next to each other, so you might have known him." And Charlie's like, "No, I don't know Jeff." And Tony's like, "Okay, I'm looking for Jeff to like auction because he has this like my this future seeing ability." So I guess maybe that's why they're meeting, but it's like not really explained because we've never seen Charlie and Tony like interact before. Like I didn't know they were like on good terms.
So they're we don't know anything right at this point. Like this is the first time we're really seeing like Charlie with Tony, but
Yeah.
um they're not on good terms.
Okay.
um I don't I don't know if it gets explained too much later either. Um but like that's where it all comes into like why Charlie's with Babe is because he
Okay.
found out what Tony's plans with Babe is, right?
Yeah.
And that's because he was one of the kids, and that's the one of the things that I don't understand is the kids that don't get auctioned off. A lot of them seem to just be able to leave whenever they want to,
Yeah.
because that's happened on like numerous occasions, and it happens in like the novel too. Like in the novel, Charlie is like in and out of Tony's house. Like he just goes whenever Tony calls him, and they yell at each other, and then Charlie leaves.
Yeah. I also don't understand like how do you know if someone's a special alpha, especially if it's like he's taking these kids before they even begin to exhibit their powers.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's some sort of genetic test or something.
Yeah, this is
Um,
like kind of the part in the show where I start losing the plot a little bit.
yeah. Um, I don't I feel like at this point Charlie is with Tony like at this bar or whatever, at this club wherever they're at as appeasing Tony. So I guess Tony like
Yeah.
sort of leaves him alone as long as he kind of helps when he's supposed to.
I guess so,
Um,
yeah, because Tony's looking for Jeff, and so that's, I guess, the main reason why
yeah.
they're together. But yeah, it's kind of like it's I don't know. When I saw this for the first time, I was just like, what is going on?
I don't know how Tony doesn't know that Charlie and Jeff are both at the garage.
I know. I feel like it would be pretty easy information because he doesn't know that Charlie and Babe even know each other. But
Yeah.
Babe, like Charlie goes off to the bathroom, Babe runs after him, and he's mad, and of course, and Babe's just like, "I can't believe like you lied to me again. Like, what's like you're working with Tony? Like, what the fuck?" And Charlie literally just sits there, says nothing, doesn't defend himself once, doesn't even try. And Babe storms off, and then Tony sees this go down, and so now he knows that Charlie and Babe know each other, but I don't know, like, literally, like, Charlie's, like, on the X Hunter team now. You would think that Tony would, like, know that.
Yeah, because that's so in the novel, like I've gotten to this part at least, like in the or maybe not exactly like this, but because it plays out different in the novel, but like
Mhm.
in the novel, like Tony knows exactly where Charlie's at, like 100%
Yeah.
knows, like the entire time. He's just like, yeah, like I don't know what game you're playing, like I don't. He's like, I don't know what you think's gonna come of this. Um,
Yeah.
he's like, stop playing around with Babe and come home, type of a thing. And Charlie's like, nah. 'Cause, like, at one point, like, Charlie gets called home to Tony, and, like, Tony sends, like, somebody in an SUV to come pick him up from Babe's house.
Yeah, okay.
So that's where it's a little weird that they're, like, playing dumb here, 'cause I don't know that either way honestly makes sense, because I don't
Yeah.
understand why people can just, like, come and go. Like, if Tony is this big, like, tough person, like, that everyone's scared of, um, then then why are people able to just walk in and out?
See, that's okay, I have that question later on with, like, Jeff, because there's some scenes where, like, Jeff's trapped in the house, and then other scenes where he's just, like, walking in and out of it. And so, yeah, I also am confused about that too.
I think with Jeff, it depends on what he's up to in the house. Um,
Yeah,
because
I
in
because right now, apparently, Tony doesn't know where Jeff is.
yeah, which I don't know how.
I
Like
don't either. Also, X Hunters are pretty active on social media because North and Sonic are always, like, live streaming. So you would think it'd be really easy to see like, to find people there, but I don't know.
yeah, I don't this I agree, this is where the plot gets a little like, "Huh?
A
What?"
couple holes.
Yeah, because I'm like, I could excuse, like, Kim bringing, like, Babe to, like, the specific bar because he knows like, if
Mhm.
whatever photos he was taking on the computer, like, if he saw a schedule of, like, that's when they're gonna meet or something, like, I can get behind
Yeah,
that. Like, it's a stretch, but it's fine. But it's like a sheer curtain between where, like,
yeah.
Kim and Babe are and where Charlie and Tony are. Um, and, like, Charlie and Tony, I guess, have their backs to where Babe's sitting, but, like,
Mhm.
also, if I'm having a sketchy meeting like that, like, I'm looking around at everyone around me.
Yeah,
Um,
right?
so it's odd.
Yeah, it's very odd. And even better, after all this drama goes down, immediately after, we get toothpaste ad. I think it's I think it's Wei brushing his teeth. I don't remember exactly. But I think Wei is just in the bathroom brushing his teeth. Toothpaste ad. I literally got whiplash from this. Like,
It it was way.
yeah. Like, this big dramatic scene where you learn, like, oh my god, Charlie is also Tony's adopted son, and then it's like toothpaste. Yeah. So I got a little whiplash from that.
Yeah.
And right from there, we go back into the story. And Wei has Babe over for like a drink because Babe is in shambles again because Charlie lied to him again. And Babe like apologizes to Wei and he's like, "Oh, I should have trusted you. Like you were right about Charlie. He has been lying to me." And yeah, I think he like stays at Wei's house for a little bit because if he's afraid if he goes home, he'll like run into Charlie.
Imagine being scared to go to your own place, like, just change the passcode to your door.
I know, and he has previously changed the passcode on Charlie before. Like, there's literally one scene where Charlie's sitting out on the driveway, and he's like, "You keep changing the passcode on me," and Babe's just like, "Well, why didn't you call me?" And so I don't know why he didn't just like do that again. But I guess he needs some like support, and Wei is, of course, always there for him. So yeah, and so he finally like so him and Wei they make plans to meet up for like dinner later at the restaurant that they went to previously. And um Babe goes home and Charlie is there. And then there's this like really cool like one take scene of Babe like yelling at Charlie and like kicking him out. And I counted in the scene, it's like a minute and 10 seconds, and there's like no cuts in it.
Oh,
Like it's
that was a long, like, rant too.
Yeah, it was like it's really cool because he like walks down the stairs and he like walks to the door and like yells at Charlie, and then he like walks to the couch and like takes a drink and like I don't know. I remember like watching it for the first time and I was like, damn, they went like artsy with this scene. Like it's really well done. Like Babe like knocks it out of the park.
I love Pavel's acting.
Yeah, I do
I'm
too.
just
He's like hitting his marks. He's like giving emotion.
he's
It's
so good.
great. Yeah. Um, so yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because there is like a lot of like really cool like long takes like that they have that are just like it's really cool. It's impressive that they've done these shots just like with no cuts in them. But
Yeah, I definitely I didn't notice, but that I think it was because 'cause they're so focused on, like, Babe, like, going ham, like, angry.
yeah.
Valid, but, like, it was just one of those, like when it comes to, like, strong emotions, Pavel's acting, it just gets to me every single time, whether it's, like, anger or, like, crying or whatever. I just every
Mhm.
time, like, you're feeling it right there with them.
Yeah,
Um
especially like the scene before when he's like kind of crying to Way about like how he feels betrayed by Charlie and he's feels guilty that he didn't trust Way to begin with and stuff. I was like, I really feel for him. Like,
Mhm.
he's going through a lot. And so he tries to kick Charlie out, but Charlie like admits to being Tony's son, and he's like for the first time he's like being honest with Babe really. And he's like, "Hey, I came here to protect you." And he's like, "I bet you don't know this, but Tony is trying to sell you." And Babe's like, "Yeah, I've known this for years. I've known this my whole life." And Charlie's just like, "Oh, you knew that?" It's like, "God damn it, Charlie! Like, this is
Of
your whole master plan."
it's one that's like, of course, Babe knows."
Yes. Charlie's just like, "Oh, you knew that?" I'm like, "Oh my god, why are you even here?" And then like Charlie goes on this long rant thing about how like basically just explained to the audience about how like so Tony adopts these special alphas and trains them, and like the good ones he treats really well, and then the bad ones he just kind of like locks in confinement. And because Charlie has never shown having a skill, he was just kind of like sitting in his room alone his whole childhood. um and then, like, kind of you said, I guess he just kind of like leaves at some point because I don't know. He's allowed to leave because he's not useful, I guess.
Right? Because that's like, he's left and Babe has left, and clearly Jeff has left, even though we don't know,
Mhm.
like, the whole thing there at that point. And
Yeah.
there's at least one more that basically walked out the door that I don't wanna name yet. Um,
Hmm.
so,
Yeah.
like, it seems like it's not that big of a deal to just be like, "Nah, I don't wanna do this."
Yeah. I guess I don't know. I guess once they reach a certain age, maybe because like I mean, at this point, like Charlie and Babe and all that, like they're legal adults, and so I guess they maybe like Tony can't make them stay there anymore without it being like kidnapping. But
Yeah, but it's one of those
yeah.
why didn't they get sold sooner? Like, Babe kinda makes
Yeah.
sense because he wants to use him to have babies, but, and, like,
Yeah.
Charlie, I guess, makes sense because it's like, he doesn't have any powers. Um,
Yeah.
but then, like, Jeff we know Jeff's power, so, like, why is he not already sold? Like, why are we waiting? Um,
Yeah.
and then there's some of the other ones where I'm like, "Why haven't you" like, it doesn't seem like selling anybody is a problem, like, it's not difficult for
Yeah.
Tony.
I don't know. I don't know if
So,
he's just like waiting to get a good price or something, but
I have no idea.
yeah, it doesn't make sense to me either.
So, especially if, like, Tony just wants to, like, impregnate Babe, like,
Yeah.
at that point, like, Babe has been under his care for so long, it wouldn't be that hard to just lock him in a room permanently.
Yeah. And okay,
Um
so this thing I also don't understand. Charlie's basically like the one thing more valuable than you, babe, is like your child. And so Tony's plan is to like force him to have a baby with an enigma, but they don't know who the enigma is. And at this point in the show, I'm like, what the fuck's an enigma?
Was this the first time we hear the word enigma?
It is.
Okay. I still don't understand what an enigma is, to be honest. Like, I know they're
So
like super special, but like,
yeah, apparently they're like really rare type where they can turn alphas into omegas. I
yeah.
guess. I don't know. I guess they restructure their reproductive system. I don't know. But for some reason the plan is to get Babe back so he can have this enigma change him into an omega and then impregnate Babe so he can have a baby so the baby is worth a lot of money. At this point I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah. So
I
it's
don't get it.
I don't either. So it's one of those how like I don't understand like how people are like alphas to begin with. So like was one of like is it a genetic thing of like one of Babe's parents was an alpha, like his dad or something, or is it like a random happenstance? Because if it's random, then getting him pregnant with an enigma, like does that guarantee another alpha baby? Like how does that work?
Yeah, and how do they guarantee that the how would the baby be more valuable than Babe is? Like if an alpha like this has a baby, is their baby immediately like stronger in their power, or like why why would you assume that the baby would be more valuable than the person who's just already valuable face value?
I mean,
And then
I guess you have to assume that that baby is going to be like mixed power between a special alpha and an enigma. Right?
so
So
are they gonna be like an enigma super alpha or like
I
like
don't
what?
know. I don't know. And I don't think they ever clearly state it, and I don't know that I want them to be
I
perfectly honest.
I don't know why. Okay, I do know why. So okay, my other question is Babe could just have a baby, but he doesn't need to be the one who's impregnated. He literally could just go to an Omega or someone, I guess, in this universe who's capable of giving birth. He could, I assume, just get that person pregnant and create an offspring. I don't know why there is this need for Babe to be the one to be impregnated.
I
And
guess it's that special alpha enigma combo more than like alpha and like regular omega.
I guess I think the easy answer to all of this is that this is just like a roundabout way to get Mpreg added into the story. That's the only explanation.
And I hate it.
I know it like none of it makes any sense, but if you think about it under that context, it's like, oh yeah, it makes complete sense.
Does it?
I mean, if all of this is just leading towards Mpreg, then that's like the only way I can justify any of this like being the
Yeah.
plan. Like why is this the plan other than just like taking Babe and using his power? Why
Yeah.
why go through all of this?
And why was he not just confined to begin with? Like that's I'm still stuck on how
Yeah.
he even got out of Tony's house.
Me too. I don't understand that either. I don't know why they didn't if this was the plan, why didn't they do it sooner? Like maybe he didn't have the enigma ready or I don't know.
Well,
Yeah. So well, I guess we at this point don't know who the enigma is yet, but
yeah.
we will learn.
Yeah.
So that's a whole headache. And Charlie admits that he actually does have a power, but his power is that he can absorb other people's powers. So, like, depending on how close he is with them, he can, like, take their power away from them permanently. And he admits that he's the one who took Babe's power away. That's why Babe doesn't have his senses anymore.
And Tony does not know about this power because otherwise he
Mm-mm.
would be more valuable than anybody. Um,
Yeah,
'cause-
yeah. Tony's still under the impression that he like doesn't have a power.
but I also what powers has Charlie already gotten for him to know that this is his power?
See, yeah, he never mentions that. And he also knows, okay, he knows that if he dies, the power will go back to the original owner. But how does he know like
Ha-
how has he even like figured that out?
Has he died once already?
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past him at this point.
Honestly, same.
Yeah. And yeah, so he's figured, I guess, all this out. He doesn't explain like why he took Babe's power, but it's assumed that like to protect him from this whole plan thing. I guess if that were the case, then I feel like okay, Charlie should be the next target of impregnation,
Yeah.
but I don't know. They don't really go for that, so
I mean,
yeah.
once Tony like figures out what happened with Charlie, like he does suddenly take a different interest.
Yeah.
It's just very short-lived. Um
Yeah.
so, but that's
And
for later.
let it yeah. And like Babe's not even really that mad about this.
Yeah, that's the weirdest part to me.
Me too. I thought he would have been so upset, but I don't know. He like doesn't care that much.
I
Like we
I
make up here.
I think he's maybe like relieved a little bit to have like some normalcy because like really that census thing was such a stress for him
Mhm.
of like everything like sound was a really big issue. Sound overwhelmed him a lot of the times. So I don't know if it's just being able to like exist in like some sort of peace was just fine with him.
Yeah, and he does kind of say he's like, okay, even out without my senses, I'm still like the best racer out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess he's like he's okay with it. You know, his power was kind of a burden to him as well. So I guess he's now that he's had some time without it, maybe he realizes it's not life isn't so bad, you know, without it.
Mhm. I'd be mad personally, but
Yeah, I'd be mad too, especially like without asking me, like without my consent, you know, you're just
yeah.
gonna like do this permanent thing for whatever reason, you know?
Mhm.
And yeah, they immediately start mama and papaing each other again. I'm
Gag.
like, god damn it. And oh, here's my other question. Maybe this is answered later, I don't understand, but do we ever find out what Charlie's like motivation is? Like how did he know Babe in the first place and why is he willing to risk his entire life to protect Babe?
um I don't know that it's ever like super clearly stated. Um,
Uh-huh.
but it's basically like somehow while he was at Tony's house still, he like figured out um what Tony's plan was for Babe and basically went on like a I can't let this happen type of a deal and went I'm going to go protect Babe. And
Okay. I
so that
just
was
don't know why he cares for Babe so much, you know, considering they've
so
never met before.
yeah, so initially it was just like a I want to protect like this cuz I Tony's plan is awful.
Mhm.
Like forcing impregnation on somebody like is pretty rough. Um,
Uh-huh.
but then he fell for Babe, and so then it just became a whole another level.
Okay.
Um,
I guess that makes sense, but
yeah,
yeah.
it's vaguely addressed at some point. It might have been around here, but I don't remember exactly when.
Okay.
But it's not like explicitly like very clearly. It's like yeah, I was just gonna protect you a little bit, and then I fell for you, and now it's I'll die for you. Um,
Yeah, right. Okay. That makes more sense. I'm just so like lost in the plot at this point, so I'm just like, okay. And Tony's mad that Charlie and Babe are together, and but he doesn't know like what Charlie plans to do. He's kind of just like, what is he up to? Because at this point, he doesn't know Charlie has an ability, so he's kind of on the defense. But yeah, and oh yeah, while this is happening, Wei is still at the restaurant that he was supposed to meet Babe at, but he gets stood up because he doesn't know that him and Charlie are back together. And he brings Babe like roses and everything. Like he's dressed so nice.
this
And
broke
Babe
my
never shows
heart.
up. I know. So bad for him.
Like
Cause
at the
yeah, it
very
seemed like this was finally like he was going to like, I don't know, give it a shot, you know?
yeah, Which maybe not the best time to do that personally,
No,
but
very, like,
oh,
very bad timing, but,
yeah. But like still like Babe finally like texts him at like the very end of the night when the restaurant's closing and is like, uh yeah, sorry, I'm back with Charlie.
Oh my god.
He's like, I'll explain things later.
Yeah, and then him and Charlie are just, like, hooking up in a car
Of
for some
course.
reason, I don't know why. They were in the house, but, they
They
gotta be
went
in
for a
public.
drive.
Yeah, um and then the episode here ends with Kim is dragged back to Tony's house because they see on the CCTV that Kim was like taking pictures of documents and stuff. And so they have him like kneeling in front of Tony and um they say something about like, oh, they're gonna take his organs or something.
Yeah, he's valuable even not alive because you can still sell his organs for and I'm like, that's terrifying.
I know. Yeah, it's pretty bad. So yeah, that's how episode 7 ends. And that's the first half of the show.
Yep. So that's where we're gonna end today's episode. Um,
Yeah, we're not getting through this whole thing
no,
right
well,
away.
we'll get through the ending excitement in next week's episode.
We keep
Um,
picking shows with like the most intricate plots ever.
yeah, I when I was writing like the synopsis, I was like trying to cut things out where I'm like, this isn't gonna be important, and I'm like, oh,
Eh,
but it is.
yeah, right.
I'm like, oh, fine.
Mhm.
So, but it's all good. So yeah, if you understand this plot a little better than we do, and you can answer some of our questions, leave it down in the comments of on Spotify. You can comment actually, or on our socials, which you can find us on Instagram and TikTok at bl.in.the.air or Twitter at blinair. And we actually have a Discord now as well. Link for that easiest thing is going to be to find it in the link tree on either Twitter or Instagram. Um, and then as well, you can find us streaming wherever you're currently listening. And we'll catch you in the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.